Guys, everybody, welcome to episode number 4 of the Creators Flow podcast. My name is Ethan Williams, owner of Wilfreds Leather Co., Ontario's leather supply company. So if you guys are looking for some hides, some skins, some making materials, we got it for you. So on this episode, I spoke to Nate Christianson. It was a 2.5-hour podcast. Nate Christianson from Cplus. And boy, did we get into it. We spoke about a lot. We spoke about the false satisfaction you get from when your reels go viral, when most of the time it's just bots watching them, fake users, which really doesn't equate to anything related to business growth, which is what we're on here for. We're here to grow our brand in many ways. We're here to showcase our leather products, the things we're making, and hopefully get some sales out of it as well. I mean, a lot of the times. A lot of us also, we're just here to create and share. And that was another big topic for us, sharing the content in the leather landscape when it comes to tip tutorials and how it's gone from really not being able to find a lot of information to having an abundance of information. We spoke about the importance of patience when getting going and how prep work is really important to having a good project completed. So planning your project accurately, taking your time, using that patience to then ensure that the project turns out the way you want. And also realizing sometimes that iterating the project, the process, can take a long, long time. So we talked about all that and a lot more. So without further ado, let's get into the podcast. Nate, happy to have you on.
Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining the Creators Flow podcast. What do you think of the name?
I like it.
Yeah?
I didn't even know it till just now. So.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. I was going to go for like a leather, like something leathery. And I was like, well, what if we want to expand to other brands and do other things, right? So.
Totally. And I mean, I feel like a lot of leather crafters that I meet through like social media or even in person, this is just like the medium they landed on, like so many people make so many. So like you could even use leather workers and talk about other things that they do too. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
that's cool.
Yeah, speaking of medians, Instagram seems to be the preferred median for leather crafters.
I think, yeah, it's I kind of battle with this in my mind sometimes about uh, kind of putting all my marketing eggs in one basket, right? I know that I have a lot of advice for people that I never take myself, but like I end up only really using Instagram. I think it's like the platform that I don't know. Yeah. I kind of hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's probably hopefully, I don't know, a lot of other people that kind of feel like it's sort of this necessary evil, in some way, right? Like there's a big community of crafters and creatives that are on Instagram, and I I really enjoy, like, I've actually made some friends from just following accounts and responding enough and chatting enough to, like, it's so there are some positives to it. I think the latest like thing, maybe the last year or so, it's really stifled some people, and then I feel like it's really boosted others in crazy ways. You know, so it's where we're at. I don't know. I have a Discord account. I don't hop on much there anymore. When I was doing other things with leather related for a company, I was on Discord all the time. But yeah, Instagram I think is probably the most like accessible. You can, I don't know. It's funny, like sometimes for like businesses, instead of like going to their website, I will just look them up on Instagram.
For sure.
Because I feel like it's a way for business or a company or like a maker even to like give a different representation of themselves rather than just this, like, here are my products, here's what I'm selling. Well,
Yep.
it gives a little insight. It's a little more personal, I think.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I agree with that. There is definitely like there is the give and take with it. I was just chatting with a buddy, and we were talking about what would it be like if you were a crafter and you didn't have Instagram. Would it be would it be something that you could sustain more easily, or does Instagram give motivation mostly, or does it take away motivation for a lot as well? So you get started, you start posting your work, you start looking at other collaborators, other Instagrammers posting their amazing work. You're just getting started. How does that make you feel, right? So do you push on, or do you just say cut ties and no, this wasn't for me?
Yeah, it's I think that if someone were new to it, to like a to this craft, because we're talking leather right now. So
Hmm.
if you were new to leather, and you know you hopped on the gram and started following a bunch of people and kind of had people you looked up to, I could see that being as a really big positive.
Hmm.
I know that you know I know that I have absolutely been inspired by accounts that I've followed. So it's good. I think it's good for that. I do think that it could be like pretty daunting. I think that's why there's a ton of like, I mean, a ton of tip tutorial videos. Um, it seems like it's a really fun thing though, it's cool that I think the motivation a lot of the time with um, at least Instagram accounts these days with leather workers, I think um, we're seeing a lot of people move into that like tutorial realm.
Hmm.
Um, and so for that instance, like with Instagram, I think like people are trying to break down that barrier to entry and they want it to be more accessible. Well, do they want it to be more successful truly, like, or do they want to share tips, or are they just looking to build their channel? I
Hmm.
gripe about this constantly. um, you know well, I don't know, I try not to gripe too much anymore, but
Hmm.
when I was anyway, i I think it's great to share information. When I was like 10, 11 years old,
Oh yeah.
and I was fascinated with it, made things, not consistently. Obviously, I was a kid. I was making stuff though. I'd buy their kits and I'd assemble them, and I would, um, you know, and eventually I was like, I can do this. So I got on, an Instagram. There was some leathercraft was kind of getting it was out there, and people were posting their work, and it was cool. Wow, it was really hard to find the information um, and and so I, I don't know, not that I've been here forever, but I do feel like there is like the social media aspect of it now is like I don't know, man. I think it's anything you make, right? Like I don't I don't drink alcohol, and
Hmm.
that's like I'm almost on 3 years without it, and my attitude towards that is I think the way that social media should be had. It's like my experience was mine.
Moderation.
Yes, and people can have their and love it for their reasons and do it whenever they want,
Hmm.
and I'll always have my own opinions about what's true and best for whatever,
Hmm.
but it like, I was looking at my screen time the other day with one of my buddies, and I was like I don't even want to look, like I don't want to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it was right around the average. I think the average person, I think we concluded from a few Google searches, was like, 4 hours on a phone is generally like pretty normal. And then if you factor in like if you're consuming like television or like the news, or like um, there's some days I work a couple different jobs, but there's one of my jobs I sit on a screen all day long. I don't look at that as the same thing as like phone time, Instagram
Yeah.
time, you know. But I
It's
think, yeah,
productive time. That is.
exactly. And I think if you're using social media as a tool like that to get some inspiration, make some connections, and then bounce and go do your thing, I think it's
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
Um, I am terrified of copying people.
Really?
Oh my God.
Like in what
Like
way? In the making way, in the photography way, in all ways.
Man, I don't give a shit about camera angles and lighting and stuff like that. Like if it looks good, do it. Like no one owns this lighting angle. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's there, you know. But if you're um I don't know, I stress out about it sometimes. I lose sleep over it. I've straight up designed stuff in I use Adobe Illustrator primarily.
Hmm.
And I've designed stuff and I get like done with it and I look at it and I'm like, oh shit, that's so and so's,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? And so I don't know. I had a guitar teacher early on that like kind of made so told me some story about a student and how they recommended to this student to like stop listening to the radio, like because their compositions were kind of coming out like everything else or
Yes.
stealing subconsciously stealing melodies.
Hmm.
And so there's the downside, I think,
I,
to that.
I guess that's what level you're at, though, right? So I
Yeah,
always believe that if you start something, you have to copy to learn how to do it,
totally.
right? And then once
Hmm.
you get to a certain point, then you start creating for yourself. But to get to that point is a lot of copying other people's work to find out what you're good at, what you like, and then extrapolate and move through the weeds after that point.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, that this kind of touches on a concept I had the other day. I had one of my buddies that I work with. We were talking about leathercraft, and um, he sees me outside of the leathercraft world, and but so he was asking me some questions about it, and like he's like, "Do you consider yourself an artist, or are you a craftsperson or something like that?" Right?
Mm,
And I was like, "Well, you know, I don't know." It got me thinking about the concept of learning, and I think like last year I kind of started referring to it in my head, leathercraft. Like my experience with it, I started referring to myself as a student of the craft.
mm,
And I think when you put on that the hat of a student, I think it takes a lot of pressure
mm.
off the like worrying so much about copying someone, right?
Yep.
Because uh, I took um, I took a couple fashion courses last semester in school at the local community college, and I took a sewing class on all industrial machines, and um, we made like three things, right? Like at the end of this semester, we had three completed things. So at the beginning of the course, I was like, "That's it. That's all I'm gonna make is like a. I can wear these like pajama pants, like
Yeah.
But the whole time we just were doing seams, zipper installs, like it was just sample work, right?
Sure.
And I hadn't really like thought about my craft that way until I took that class, which was not leather related at all. I didn't sew one thing on one of those machines out of leather. And but I don't know. So like that concept though, I think if you think of yourself as a student, then copy everything. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna be mad if you're a guitar player and you sit down and you pick out a note for note song around a campfire.
Exactly. No, for sure. And
Like,
it depends on like where you're going to go with it. If you're going to copy someone's work and then try to sell it, well, then that's a different story. Now, there's
oh
a
well,
lot of
both.
big brands that do that consistently. I think there's a lot of big brands that I'm probably all of them that maybe go a little bit too far with copying the next thing that someone did, and they have to do it to get in front of the same amount of eyes. But then, like you said, there's a difference between being an artist, being a crafter, or being a student, right? And you almost have to wear multiple hats depending on what you want to do with what you just created. Do you want to just use it yourself? Do you want to sell it? Or do you want to use it as inspiration to build something new?
Totally. I um I have and I like the idea of copying or in terms of like because like no matter what, it's not going to look like the other maker.
No.
It's not gonna look like it.
Hmm.
And that's what I think is really fun about this craft. any craft really, but that's what's fun about this one is, um, you know, if you have people that you look up to and you're chasing their designs or like chasing the concept of their designs, or you're chasing the look of how they finish everything or whatever it is, and you get like fixated on it, like you'll master it for sure. Like
Oh,
you'll
for
do
sure.
it. And then yeah, I like that kind of idea. I think of it as like you earn you earn that skill when you go out to copy and like try to do something as perfect as you can. I mean, and then that's yours, you know? So
Yeah.
if you learned how to finish edges like Brad from Left Foot, like if you got to that point,
Hmm.
you're like you're saying, you're good, you can go. Like
Yeah.
there's the door, you did it, like, you know, go
Yeah.
and like and then just use the, you know, all the skills that lead up to that, you know. So I think that's great, but I do worry but the Instagram thing is sometimes it's you like if you're just scrolling a lot and you're not paying attention, like you'll
Being a
see
student, like you
you
said.
yeah, you'll see stuff and you can pick out and grab it and you know, I don't know. But yes, at least as far as Instagram, that's kind of what I try to use it
Hmm.
for, you know.
Yeah. It is. I think that's, in my opinion, that's the proper way to think of it too, as use it as the inspiration that it should be. I think there's a lot of people that get going though, and they're 50 followers in, 100 followers in, and it takes a long time to even get to that. Unfortunately, it does. 200, even 300. It takes a long time. And then you
Yeah.
see people who are at 91K, 100K, and if you picked it up as thinking that this is a business and you're going to make money out of it right away, I think there's a huge push for to be like, okay, well, let me buy followers now. Just get myself up to that, standard. But then, and I think there's a lot of people out there that have just bought followers and they're like, hey, look at me now. But then they're missing that fine aspect, that fine tuning of what their craft needs to be at the point in time, right?
Yeah, I mean, are people really doing that? Like, I
Oh,
think
there's
that's like,
gotta be. There's gotta be.
I,
There's enough that you can look at and you can look at their follower base and be like, there's too many bots for this to be real.
you know, so like, I have, I've not experienced any type of like viral anything, right? And I, I made a couple of videos that last year did well, right?
Hmm.
And I had one in particular that hit like crazy amounts of views, and I was like, at the time, I was like, "Oh, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is weird." Like, you got one video that's got 100 views, this one's got 50K, and it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. But I was looking at it, and like I'm looking at the likes that I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
And it's like all the accounts look really similar. Like there's the underscore is like a like one character away from the last one, and it's like I don't know, man. Like I think when I like saw that like on my for my own account, for my own Instagram, I was just like, oh, like this is what I'm seeing everyone else do, where I'm like maybe feeling some sense of like some type of envy or something towards
Yeah.
like, oh man, like that's so, I think like in your mind you're like, oh my, that's so great, so and so's blowing up, like this is
Mhm.
awesome for them and their business. But it's just like, well, I don't know, is it just all bots? Like,
That's the thing. Is it fake pride that you just did so well? Is it not really established pride? Or is so like I always like I when you if you look at likes and you get your fulfillment from how many people have seen your reels or how many people have liked your reels, like you just said, how many of it's just bots and how many of it's fake pride, in the sense of like the people that you want to see your work aren't seeing it, so it's not really established. And
right, like
it's so important to just establish yourself in the work that you're doing for yourself, right?
totally. I mean, there's it. I mean, come on, like do it for the gram. Like that's like a you
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
that
yeah,
phrase. Like it's just in everyday
yeah,
life. Like oh,
yeah.
straight to the gram. So I don't know. I love that people want to share. Like I think that's cool because I've always felt that way. Like even as a kid, I wanted to like
Mm,
just like share and like perform or like like if you learn something, like what's cooler than sharing it with like your loved one
exactly.
or someone like, I mean, I don't know, like my girlfriend will read a book and she'll be like, okay, and she'll tell me like all about it,
Yeah.
because she's passionate about it. And
Yep.
so I think if you have that sense, like, you know, if that's what you want and you want to share things, then share them and make it beautiful. I hope
Yep.
great, do it, go blow up. But yeah, I don't know. When I realized then that it was like, oh, this is like these are inflated. There's absolutely no business that came from that video. So
Mhm.
not that I shot down the whole like never make an Instagram reel thing again, but it
Sure.
was more like it was like, okay, this type of like this like high and low, like riding this like
Mhm.
wave of emotion that comes from like trying so hard on something to then see it flop is like
Mhm.
kind of the part of it, like I've made things that I'm like so hyped on and then like they
Yeah.
sit there at a market and they don't even get touched.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There is like there are a lot of great community building benefits from posting reels, posting the stories, because there are the 5 in 100 that will reach out to you and be like, "Say that was super dope, man. Like, how'd you do that? What's going on there?" Like, and then you start to have a ongoing conversation with this unexpected person, and that's the benefit to me of Instagram. It's creating uh, or maybe not even create it's not, I'm not creating it, I'm just now becoming part of a community that I didn't know about, and the real people become real quick. They're
Yeah.
now there in front of you, you now can socialize with them. I don't know many other industries, or maybe I just have a blind eye to it, but I don't know many other industries where I can just reach out to a crafter and say, "Hey man, what's going on with you?"
Yep. That is something that I've also experienced where it kind of caught me off guard and I yeah, truly wasn't expecting it. One guy that comes to mind for sure is Christopher. You just had him on from
He's
Royal.
dope. He's awesome.
Just a good dude.
Yeah.
We started following each other, I think, for Leathercraft initially, but then we like totally found out we were shooting photos on the same camera system, and like I don't know, like I sent him a text the other day of just like my camera like set up with like a flash and like I was like, dude, took this thing out, like this was fun, like how are you, whatever, what's going on with you, like a text though, and it's like, oh cool, like that's where I think it's hard for me to just be like, I do say I hate Instagram, but it's hard for me to like truly cut it out of my life because there's been like, and this is cool, like sitting here with you chatting is like, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know. So I think if, and but I'll be honest, I think my attitude shifted a lot towards it in the last like few months, and since then it's been a lot better. Um, you know.
So where do you want to go with leather work? Like, are you trying to, do you want to use it as a tool, like kind of the same expression as what you're saying about your girlfriend reading a book and wanting to show the world, or in that case, show you what she was just reading? Are you using
Right.
Instagram as that tool, or do you want to grow a brand that sits somewhere?
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. It's I don't know, man. It's funny to think of me as a kid, like getting that leathercraft kit, and then like looking around this room right now, like yeah, I got leather coming out of my ears. I got a sewing machine over there. I got a bell skiver I need to assemble. Like it's been really beautiful. I get kind of emotional about it because to me, this thing that I do, that has has been like it's been a growing thing for me. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I've learned so much about. It sounds kind of silly, but like kind of about life from doing this work. Um, there's like it's such a cool thing to like see like the progress. I think everybody loves that, right? Like I see stuff that people are carrying that I made like 7 years ago, and I'm like, whoa, like
Yeah.
okay, like that's still kicking. Like that's pretty cool. And they use it every day. And it's like, wow, that's really neat. I don't know. I've always enjoyed making things, and I truly like C Plus was supposed to be a clothing brand that my buddy and I were going to start in high school, and we like screen printed a couple of shirts. We were just like not mediocre, but we were like kids that like never studied. We could go in and like I'd go in and like never study and take the test and be like, oh, got a C plus on it, sweet. Like
Okay, that's where that came from.
yeah, yeah. So it and like my little catchphrase, I guess I always say is it's above average because we liked the idea of just being like punk ass kids that like I don't know. I was always getting kicked out of classes. I was always
Yeah.
like, I have ADHD and like was prescribed prescribed stuff as a kid to help with that, and like
Yep.
it was tough for me. And a
I
lot
know
of the
that. I know
reason,
that. I the same way, man.
you
Grade
know,
four.
like
Grade four. Give me
yeah,
some Ritalin.
yes, dude. Like, well, and honestly, I wish I would have been put on sort of like a quick acting like ADD medication because
Yeah.
I got put on like a Strattera, which is like a pretty sure it's like a steroid type of whatever.
Okay.
So, anyways, blah blah. But like once I realized that like, oh, I have really good focus when I am engaged, you know. So
Hmm.
so to me, man, it goes back to that. Like, it just goes back to kind of that. Once I realized that like I was passionate about something, all of those issues I had focusing or like following through, yeah, they're still present for sure. Like I just delivered an order like 30 days late. Um, because time got away from me and like just yeah, it's tough to sit down sometimes and do it, but like it's been so but knowing that's it's all been growth is really cool.
Hmm. Like development,
So
where went from, and then where how you've developed.
yep. And so currently C plus is a business, and I registered it a couple years ago
Hmm.
to take it more seriously. um, once and what I mean by that was just like I don't know. Once it was a business, I thought of it differently. I started to pay attention more to what things were costing me and um, how to price my own goods. So
Hmm.
I took on that business like mindset with it, and all it's done is help me grow. You know,
How closely are
so
you tracking margins and cost of the business?
yeah, I watched one of Eric's videos from Quarter Leather. I watched one of his pricing videos. It's, I think, one of his most helpful videos that he's
Oh
ever
yeah.
put out. He lays it all out, man. It's really cool. Like, he explains, he takes this number and he's like, okay, let's say you want to make 60 grand a year to, if that's what your budget can work with, and you want to be a one person craft, like, if you want to do that, he was basically like, here's how you have to break it down. Like, um, yeah, so that was really, really impactful. Influenced me a lot in terms of just like how to watch that stuff. I made a spreadsheet a long time ago that's really simple. It's got it's got my cost, it's got a margin on top of that cost, it's got my labor, it's got a margin on top of labor, and then it has like and it's all tweakable.
Hmm.
So, you know, like to me, I geek out on that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah, I
um,
love that stuff too.
yeah, I mean,
I
it's
love the idea of business, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to keep the podcast name, the Creators Flow, kind of open and not tailor it to just leather, because
right,
I would like to have more business conversation with brands and things of that nature, where we get kind of into like what does it mean to run a business, because I think there's people out there that want to run a business, right, and they don't want to just do um, leather for themselves. They're on Instagram to grow a business, right?
totally.
Yeah.
You know, there's I'm also a photographer, and I shoot some video as well, and I got to price that because
Hmm.
there, you know, I'm happy to do a lot of things for free, but I think once you start to realize that like, you know, everything costs money, and literally my time sometimes for me to be like, okay, yeah, I can shoot that video for you.
Mhm.
Here's what it's going to have to cost, because that means I'm taking time off my leather work or one of my jobs that I work to kind of bring me like a steady income thing, So I don't know. Turning art into a business is, or craft into a business is, um, honestly, I wouldn't say not for everyone, because that makes it sound like I know best for everyone. I It's tough for me. Like, dude, I just dropped my biggest wholesale corporate order, whatever you want to call it, the other day, and it was 60 individual items,
Yeah.
and not a damn one of those was sewn on my sewing machine because I don't know it well enough yet. Like,
Mhm.
so like some of these items took me like just 1 hour each to sew. Like I have this notebook that's like a continuous like stitch like all the way around. And like, goddamn, dude, I was sitting there like just looking at this stack and just being like, this is the dream,
Yeah.
right?
This is
Like,
me now.
and I don't know, man. So it's like it took a lot of really mindful, like, um, I had to be really mindful of my attitude towards it,
Mhm.
because like I'd get pissed at myself if I was like annoyed by the amount of work that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you wanted this, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you made that. You went up and you reached out to that company, and you reached out on your own, pitched it. You did all of that. Like, you got it to here, and then you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't know, man. It's funny. I always joke. Like, I have some friends that like have kind of side businesses that are like that don't require as much labor. And I'm always joking, like, oh, I picked the wrong side hustle because this is so labor intensive. Um, so I don't know. For me, C plus is just growing, and it's kind of doing its thing.
Yep.
And I don't. This summer I took off. I worked about 2 days, 2 to 3 days a week at my jobs. Um, I luckily have like a really flexible work schedule, and I'm able to do that. And I've set it all up that way so that I can do this. And being in it, doing it, like this summer, like doing a lot of markets and doing a lot of like trying to make as much stuff as I could. Yeah, man, I don't know. I,
Has has the markets paid off quite a bit?
Markets are I think like there's it's a tough thing to it's a tough thing to kind of put yourself out there all the time. One of my really good friends, Jay from Temple Leather Goods, he and his partner, they travel around with their family in an RV, and they bop around. They got a spot that they're in now, and they do these markets. And he and I frequently chat about just like the sheer like it's draining, man. Like,
Yeah.
it is so draining. Like, so in short, because I could ramble, yes, markets are effective and you should absolutely do them because it, it's really good experience,
Hmm.
and it will not make or break you. It's not that significant, but I did one of the most popular Salt Lake markets, and I applied and got in, and I was really looking forward to it, and like it was supposed to be this really great event. Like, there was a line out the door, like, and I can't tell you how many people just walked right by my
Hmm.
booth, like, um, and you sit there and you're like, okay, like, I'm feeling really good because I'm here at the market. I got here, like, just getting there and looking at that table and your spread and being like, holy shit, I put in this all these are all hours, like, of my time sitting here. And of course, like, I would love to sell out. That'd be sick. Like, make a couple grand and like, like, but yeah, I don't know, man. I've done a few. I don't know, but it's just tough. All
Now,
the sales that
communicating with the customer must be invaluable, though. Like the persons that
yeah,
do walk up to your booth,
mhm,
having that
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. I think like that. What I was just gonna say is like um, I don't have it on now, but I normally wear a Garmin watch that like tracks everything for me, like too many things to me, honestly. And I saw a guy wearing one, and it looked like he had a leather watch band on it, right? And I was like, he was just walking by, and I straight up yelled at him. I was like, "Yo!" I was like, "Hey!" I was like, "What kind of watch is that?" And he like turns around, and he's like, "Oh, it's the Garmin, blah blah blah." And I'm like, I got the same one. And I
Nice.
was like, do you like that watch band? Like, is that like a Garmin one? And we started just chatting and like, not even really about leather. Like,
Yeah.
we started talking trail running, we started talking whatever, outdoor stuff. And then like, that guy walked away with a camera strap. So, I, and it's funny because at a certain point at this particular market, I kind of like gave up in a sense. I was like, okay, nothing's happening. So I'm just going to talk to everyone and like see if that shifts things, and it does. So I think it's truly dependent on your attitude.
Hmm.
If you are comfortable chatting and selling and talking to people, I think you will do great at markets.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, but sitting there all day, man, it's I don't know, it's tough.
Now you have a design background or marketing background, photography background, or all of the above, right?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I've yeah. So I work currently for Rocky Mountain Leather Supply. I work there 1 day a week currently, sometimes some more. Um, I'm really, really lucky to have them. Um, they have been like imperative to any type of. Now, when I say success, I mean imperative to like me learning the craft.
Hmm.
Um, we'll talk about that for a sec. Like, I was, I've always worked in ski shops since early on, since I was like 21. So for the last, I mean, yeah, a long time. Um, and so I've always done that in the winters. I've done like seasonal work. I've kind of gravitated towards jobs that like allowed me to like do what I wanted. I've had a leather desk in my room for like I don't know 10 plus years now, like in all the different places I rented and stuff. And so, anyways, one I I was like recently sober, and I was like, okay, I've got to like all of a sudden I had all this time. Like it was crazy. I thought I was gonna be like bored or something. And I just remember like getting home from work and being like, all right, well, I'm not gonna crank all those beers that I normally would. So I guess like I'll do some crafting. And like I just started making stuff like crazy. And I like was working this construction job that I really liked. It was with a private contractor. We were laying tile. It was actually great. I was going to go off kind of on my own and start doing my own jobs. And for whatever reason, like I think it's a good reason, I ended up like walking off that job. I was searching for jobs, and I saw Rocky Mountain Leather Supply had a listing up for a warehouse worker. And at that point, I was like a month into unemployment. Like I wasn't collecting unemployment, but I was just kind of like burning through stuff and trying to make stuff, I guess, to survive. And I was like, you know what? Like it's $15 an hour. Like I can't live off that. Like, but I sat down and I really did some budgeting, and I like thought about it, and I was like, full time, whatever. I was like, my bills can get paid. Like my rent was cheap, whatever. So yeah, I started working there. And like just crazy to be around all that stuff um,
And
all the
still
time.
ski. You were still seasonally working at the ski resort as well during this time.
So then in the winter, like while I was full time with Rocky Mountain, I still hung on to 1 day a week at the ski shop
Okay.
because and it's up at a ski resort. So for me, skiing is like I kind of had the conversation with myself last year. I was like, all right, you're gonna ski for the rest of your life. It is what it is. You can't like it's just this really honest conversation with myself of like, all right, what can you kind of let slide away? Like I don't skate as much as I used to, blah blah blah. And it's like, all right, skiing's going to be something I do, and it's my life. And um, anyways, with 10 plus years in the ski industry, managing ski shops, somehow maintaining the relationships, and then while working other jobs, I don't know. I, I wouldn't call myself a workaholic by any means, but it's too hard for me to say no to a cool opportunity.
Are you a hard person to sit still?
Oh, for sure, man. Like ADHD, ADD, like I'm fiddling with a pen right now.
How are you
Um,
getting through movies? You good at watching movies all the way
I
through?
love I love movies. I I do love movies. I don't sit down and watch a lot of TV though. Like,
Yeah.
if I yeah, so I have to be engaged, and I think that's funny you're picking up on that because it's like that. I think there's also a part of like why for the last 2+ years I've had two jobs, like sometimes three jobs. Because I don't know, there's so many aspects of which like with Rocky Mountain, like I I ended up taking my camera into work and was like, "Hey, I can like take pictures for your social. No pressure. Like I'll just snap a couple pics like here and there." And I started doing that, and they started using them on social. And I was like, "Hey, I want to take a stab at some product photography." So I started doing that. And once I got that thing locked in, I was their full-time product photographer and social media account manager, or whatever you want to call it. So I was like, so
What was your selfishly? I got to know this. What was your strategy for growth on social media for their account?
dude, I just saw a big gap in engagement.
Yeah.
And I had worked for a couple ski reps. I worked for a ski rep locally, and it was so brief. I got fired from it. It was so funny. I got fired from like two jobs. Like my life. My life is very different now. It's funny to think back on whatever. Anyways, like being young and stupid in your 20s, um, but
Dude,
like,
you're preaching here, man. I totally get it. You should have seen me
just
back in my early 20s too. It was
yeah,
totally different person.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's fun to think about. Anyway, but so I had some experience in growing like a grassroots ski team and like establishing kind of these people that we wanted to represent this brand, the ski brand, and it was really cool. I definitely got fired, but what I learned from when I was doing it was like the best thing you can do is build straight up real connections with people that are truly influencing in their worlds, right? So I grabbed like the the kind of some underground skiers that were like really cool, doing like doing things that were unique. And that was kind of my push, was like, I don't care about so and so with 50,000 followers. Like I don't like when I was, I could say this because I was young and stupid. Like I don't want to work with somebody like that. Like I don't want that. That's not what I was going for, right? So when I started doing Rocky Mountain stuff, like I never ever focused on their like people that we wanted to work with. I never focused on their followership. I mean, it was always a factor because we were doing marketing stuff,
Hmm.
but like that was not my first checklist. You know what I mean? I tried to work with people like I worked with Brad from Left Foot. It was really great. Like I just feel like what I wanted to do with social media then was like I wanted to take our customers that were already our customers, already supporting us. Um, Now that wasn't to say like we weren't trying to grab new customers, but I was like, look, these people are effortlessly making beautiful content
Hmm.
using our products.
Hmm.
How do we get them? How do we utilize that and make it seem organic and like just kind of effortless too? Like, and I think one successful thing we had that we did is like we were selling some of these like gator tails, and they were like all glazed. They were really pretty, and like I don't know, it's hard to get a full piece of gator or croc like because of CITES and all these things, but the tail a lot. So we had some of these really cool tails, and I had the thought to send them out to Uncle Jack, from Roman from Uncle Jack, and then Brad from Left Foot. And all I did was like, "Hey guys, we're trying to push this new stuff. Can I send this to you for free? Do you have time to work with it and make something within this time frame?" And they both were like, "Sounds great. Would love to. Appreciate the offer." And I'm like, "Sounds great." Like, and I sent them like a bunch of pictures of every type of color that we had. And it was funny because this was stuff I was doing when I was operating the Instagram. I was like, "Look, we're losing out. Like, this is it was like it wasn't necessarily a sales channel, and I was like, we can drive sales through Instagram. I know for sure we can. Um, they weren't listing, they weren't linking their products to like they make a post about a product, but then the customer or um, the user would have to go, to the post, see the post, go back to Rocky Mountain's profile,
Hmm.
click the link, go to the link, search the thing, find the thing.
Yeah.
And so when I was a warehouse worker, I was like, hey, like I grabbed, I grabbed the the person who was running the social media at the time, and I was like, hey, like we need to link these on there. And she's like, do you think so? And I was like, yeah, we do. Like,
Hmm.
she's like, I know how to do it. And I was like, give it to me. Like, I didn't even know how to do it, but I was like, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Like, so we did, but like, I just that anyway. So with doing that, like, I wanted to just kind of like ramp it up a little bit, nothing crazy, but um, but I wanted to like provide people with an experience that like they couldn't get from the website. So
Hmm.
I was sending people DMs of like leathers, thread matches, edge paints, like as much as I could,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and that was driving sales for sure. And then we started doing like we did all these like remnant sales, and dude, I walked into that place and there was a pile as like, and I was like, I just said, I looked at the owner and I was like, I'll sell all this for you. And he
Hmm.
was just like, you really think so? And I was like, I would work there a few months, and I was like, Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
and dude, straight up, like, I just looked at what other suppliers were doing with Instagram flash sales, and I was like, okay, we're copying this. There's
Yeah.
the copying thing. Like, you know, like District Leather didn't own the like a flash sale, so I was like, we're doing flash sales, like, and we
Yeah.
started
Exactly.
churning. Dude, we got rid of them. We got rid of so much remnant. It got remnant in the people's hands, and it was like a way for them to test out leathers, blah blah blah. So I don't know,
Dude,
man.
I
That
just
was
started
like
doing
my
that this week. This week I just started
why.
doing well, I did I mean the not so mystery box. So
Yeah,
where I just post on my story, here's what going in this box. It's going to be up on the site in the next 5 minutes. Whoever wants it, right? Or
it
whoever wants it
works.
gets it.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm really happy you just said that about reaching out and doing the collaborations with crafters because I just literally did a story post 3 days ago. I said, hey, who wants to do some type of like, I don't know if we want to call it ambassadorship, where I'm going to send you a box of free leathers. You do some story
Totally.
content on it, maybe a box opening. And then it's a win-win. You get free shit to craft with, and I get some content that I can put across
Dude,
media and grow grow
yeah,
grow it.
it's invaluable, man. Like, I think it's brilliant too. Like, you got to do it.
Yeah. Did you do the creators tagging in order to get it into their so when they post a reel and then they can just click on their reel to go to the actual product? Is that creator collaboration or how does that work?
Are you you're saying like from like linking your product?
Yeah. Because I just
I
saw
think you
OA do that. And I was like, how the heck did OA just do this? Because, and actually,
yeah.
one of the guys who reached out to me who was like, I would love to be a part of this ambassadorship. And then he linked me that. And I was like, how the hell did he do that? Because that's a really
And
cool way.
so there you go. That's you just learned something that will like that makes it worth it, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're taking away like knowledge and any type of information from any experience, you want.
Hmm.
But that's brilliant. Like, why not? I mean, think about it. My solution or my theory there was like, all right, look, we've got people out there that are kind of stuck in their ways. They're buying the same leathers over and over again,
Hmm.
and it's not that fun, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like, there, I looked around at Rocky Mountain and I was like, there are so many leathers that. Here's the funny thing. I've worked there two plus years now, I think. Um, I have bought like one Butero panel, maybe, and like
Hmm.
one Butero's double shoulder. And it's great leather, but it's just there's so many other great leathers. So I think if you want to promote stuff, the easiest way is to give people remnant, give people some scraps, let them
Yep.
use it, smell it, touch it, see how it
Yeah.
behaves. I mean, in reality, like you need to have those small pieces of leather on your bench to test with, anyways. Um, so why
Yeah.
not get some and see if that edge paint does match or your thread looks good with it? Because then you can confidently go and buy. You're on with this e-commerce style of and like of selling leathers. I mean, I would hear it all day. Like, it's very, very tough to buy leather online. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, how do you? you can do everything you can to invoke the feel and the look and the like everything about the leather, but unless you get in someone's hands, they're never truly going to know. And then when they
Yeah, no,
become a
I
fan
agree
of
with you
it,
100%.
yeah. And so and like and that's goes back to that passion thing we talked about. Like if someone's passionate about something, there's this like innate desire to share about
Hmm.
it, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think that's a brilliant way to get your product in front of people. I mean, why not? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many like for me there's so many suppliers out there, and I don't know if this is the correct way to think about it, but I don't think of any of them as my competitors, especially when it comes to marketing or advertising or anything like that. Even sales or whatever. I just whatever reason, I figure as soon as I put out a piece of content, it's usable to whoever wants to take that idea, or who, like, as soon as I do anything that's marketing, I already figure that someone's going to do it or they've already done it. So it
you
really doesn't
should,
matter to me. And then it also goes
yeah.
back to like customer service. Like if I don't have a piece of leather that someone wants, well, guess who I'm sending them to? The guy that does. And I
I
hope they do
mean,
the same thing to
yeah,
me.
why not? Like, and this is something like I did want to talk about because I talk about this often with at Rocky Mountain. Like we all like I help out with the customer service team a lot because they just get random emails and they're like, "Hey, I know that you've done this with this leather. Like, how can you help answer this email?" So,
Mhm.
but I think we all know on the customer service side, it's like they'll have a question. It's like, "Hey, like they're looking for this type of hardware. Like, do you know like where to get it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know where to get it." Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Do we really want to send them a buckle guy link? But like,
Yeah. All right, go
you
to
know,
Amazon.
right. Like, I mean, it's out there. And so, and I kind of explained this to them. They got like a new marketing guy, and I kind of was trying, he's not a leather worker, but I was trying to explain to him, like, look, like, everyone's going to buy from everyone. There will be
Yeah.
there is, what kind of business owner is like, nope, I'm only buying from it's like, get
Yeah.
real. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Like, so I mean, dude, myself, I am a customer of District Leather, Buckle Guy, RMLS, Weaver,
Yep.
like maybe one time. Like Maker Supply is a really cool kind of like US distributor that's kind of, I think, relatively unknown. I got like some Wicked and Craig. Are they Wicked? Are they Herman Oak? It might have been Herman Oak belt blanks, $20 shipped, like there the next day. So like, why not? Like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you utilize everyone? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really fun nowadays to be a leather crafter. I mean, you have so many options to choose from, and they're all pretty damn good, you
Yep.
know?
From a marketing standpoint, here's what I was talking about. I couldn't pull it up on my my computer Instagram version, but
Oh yeah,
check this out. Give me 2 seconds here. I just had it. So check this out. I don't know. Hopefully you can see it. I'll turn down the volume so it's not. Can you see this fairly well?
kind of. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a post done by Wandering Leather,
Okay.
and down here there's the link to OA,
Sick.
the product, the
That's
Artifa
bitching.
Sun leathers.
Yeah, I love
How
that.
the hell do you know how to do that? Because I need to
Uh,
figure this out.
so I've never done that.
Yeah.
But so I know this. I know that like product sharing has to be on your profile and on their profile.
It's product sharing. That's the word I'm missing.
Yeah, I think it's called product sharing, and because like your Instagram store will be linked to your Facebook account, and
Okay.
that's the way that they make you do it. Is you have to, at least from what I understand. I use Shopify personally. Um, it depends on what everybody else uses. I think Shopify. This is not a Shopify plug. That's just what I've used for.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, it works for me.
I think
Squarespace
it's
is great
better.
too.
I think
But
it's better than other platforms by far.
yeah, I mean, it's for me, and I made my website really easily from it.
Have you tried
Like,
Wix?
no, never, I didn't try anything else. I just like, I was going to be on a local news, I was on a local news show, and it was like the week of, and I was like, I better make a website. And so I did. And it was really easy. But in order to link products on Instagram, you have to like have a Facebook account, I think, for Shopify, and then you have to link your products. That's one thing that I'm lacking on. That's like in my next couple, my next goals for
Hmm.
fall and winter is to make sure that like I'm not posting like one of my wallets or a bag or something that doesn't have a link. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you just got to do it, you know? So I think as long as you
Yeah.
have that product sharing and on yours, I think um, other people can tag it as well. I'm, I don't know. I'm gonna figure this out
Yeah,
one
if you
day.
figure it out before me, I'll let me know, and I'll let you know
Yeah,
vice versa there. But
we'll
it
we'll
is an
share.
interesting. I thought that was, oh well, that's perfect for what I just asked. Like I just
Yeah,
asked, hey,
yeah.
anyone who wants to do this collaboration, and then that's
That's how
like
you
the
do it.
perfect way to segue into it.
Yeah,
So anyone who's
man.
listening to this too, comment about it, please,
Yeah, like,
and let us know.
dude, that's what's so fun too. Is like I when I was doing marketing for Rocky Mountain, like I remember just getting tips from other leather workers on like it was kind of fun to just be like, hey, I'm a leather worker who's like learning this marketing thing and media thing, kind of like on the fly. Like, let's
Yep.
just help me with this. Like, um, yeah, like there was there was one guy I would chat with all the time. I would chat with Matter Supply constantly.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't talk to that guy anymore for different reasons, but like
Hmm.
it's but even then I don't know. So it's fun to share and learn like and I
Hmm.
think it's that's the other thing is like Instagram's great and it's also bad. Like you can
Hmm.
burn bridges and you can, but
That's the
that's
thing. We saw that. I think every crafter saw that whole entire conversation with Matter and Quarter there, which I thought.
yeah.
I actually, I think I unfollowed one of them for a brief moment in time because of that. I was like, I really don't want to see this. I come on Instagram to be kind of happy and
Yeah.
inspired, and that kind of
Yeah.
took it away from me. Um, so I
Yeah, I
hope.
mean leather drama, you know? Like
Yeah. How do you expect that to ever happen? Eh?
yeah, yeah, it's funny. I think like if you spend so much time on social media, you really start to value likes, followers, comment, blah blah blah. You place that at a point where you lose sight of like you lose sight of your life after you close the app. And I think that's like the problem. Um, Probably with both of those people. Um, I have nothing but good things to say about Eric. He's always been a joy to chat with, and really been. Um, I'm not close with him. I don't know him like that, but he's been very friendly, and I've really enjoyed his. It's just hard for me to say like he's just done. I think done a lot, and I think he was one of the first you people to put videos on YouTube that were accessible and like I love his one video. It's like he uses a fork as a pricking iron. Like I mean, it's I think he's one of those guys I think that makes things just to make things
Hmm.
and kind of has a business doing it and does well. And the other guy, hot headed like know it all that just kind of whatever. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Anyways,
We don't have to go into it.
no, and I don't even want to. It's just
Yeah.
more of like
Yeah.
it's funny to lose that. Whereas like when I was running the social media for Rocky Mountain, I got really involved in social media,
Hmm.
and I mean, God, I didn't look at my screen time then, but like, I mean, I had I had that account signed in on my phone. I had my account signed into my phone. Then I had my personal account signed into my phone. It's like three accounts, four sometimes, running in these accounts, and it's like yeah, it becomes your entire focus. And it's, oh my God, it's so not, yeah, I don't know. I've done more, I've gotten more sales through meeting people, shaking hands, and making friends than I have through doing social media.
So where would you go then if you had to pick between any platform and that platform or um, a retail location, social media platform, podcast, I don't know, whatever. If you had to pick
Yeah.
one of them, where would you want to be in order to sell your goods?
I got this little pipe dream. I think it'd be pretty fun to own like a very shitty apartment with a shop downstairs and be on some cute street somewhere in, maybe Salt Lake City or something, and
Yeah,
live above it and live a really humble life
yeah,
and play guitar a lot and take photos and then have my shop downstairs. And because I think it would be really cool to meet people that just stumbled in your shop,
yeah.
and I would just put like leather on the top. Like it would be super nondescript and it would
With a
just be
question
like,
mark?
just, yeah, like dot, dot, dot,
Yeah, yeah.
because, I don't know. I think like if you want to be, I
Hey, would
think
it
if you want to,
be? What would the sign be made of? Are you gonna have? Is it
neon.
gonna be the bulb? Is it gonna be the lights, like the neon light signs? Is that what you're thinking in your mind, or what are you thinking?
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
totally.
Cool. Cool.
Like could be a tattoo shop, but like it's really just some nerd sitting in there. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Cool.
I think it'd be cool, and I think like that would be a really fun way to meet people and to do leather work. I don't. I would. You know. I think I battle with this like. Nah, it's not a conundrum. It's just more of like I make so many things and that never see the light of day on social media, and I'm totally cool with that.
Hmm.
And
Were you always?
um, it's funny because I've had like this account, because we were looking at that other account briefly, and I was like, oh, they've had their account since 2015, and like I should look at mine. I think I kick myself, dude, a lot of times. Like I was posting on Instagram 10 plus years ago, hashtag leatherwork, and like I didn't keep up on it. And God, like sometimes I'm like, oh, if I would have gotten all these followers or something. But I don't think that, yeah, like this one hasn't been an account since 2015, like probably been making stuff a
Hmm.
whole lot longer than that because to do it at that quality, to do that clean of sewing machine stitching is pretty impressive.
Yep.
Um,
Well, the
yeah, this
Japanese are just so good at this craft.
they're just better at everything, really.
They're
I
just
mean,
there's it's like it must be. I'm talking out of my ass right now, but it seems like this is a tradition passed down leathercraft.
I don't know the full history there. I think like some of it, I remember like taking a philosophy class and like learning about kind of some of their like the Japanese culture and like their just the discipline that comes
Hmm.
from it. Like I don't even know I don't know, but it just seems maybe that's just what we see and we think all of Japan is just like a bunch of like really nice
Disciplined
leathercraft.
people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm fine thinking that. I think that's a
Yeah.
nice thing to think, but yeah, I mean, it's just these videos. I really admire the like the transitions and how much information they do show.
Yep.
I think you truly could learn leathercraft by watching videos like this.
Absolutely.
I think you really could. I think you could sit there and absorb it all. And if you, well, like the other day, dude, I was like Googling and trying to find what that mat is that they're using.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted to figure that out because in my mind, I was like, these videos just pop. Like
Yeah.
the background looks amazing. Like my dirty gray Amy Roke craft mat looks terrible on an Instagram reel. This looks
Hmm.
amazing, right?
Yep.
So
He's
I was
wearing
like
black
Googling it.
clothing too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like trying to find it. I couldn't find it. Like, so if you know, tell me so I
I
can
bet you we
copy
could
it
just
or
ask
something.
this guy, and you'd probably let us know. To be honest.
I seriously thought about that. I went and dug through the comments on so many videos to see if I could find it else like on my own. And
Yeah.
um,
I know
yeah, like
Christopher asked him about his camera angles,
yeah,
uh, and he got back to him, or someone on his team got back to him and let him know a
sick.
couple things, just like there's a team working on it and so on and so forth. I think he even said like
See,
this is what we're using, and
yeah, that's what's great about Christopher from Royal is like that guy has no fear of asking a question, and
yeah,
I love it because that's how he and I have become buds is
yeah,
just asking questions whether it's camera gear or leather related. But yeah, I love that. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. But that guy is the type of account that if you want to learn like how to be an expert at the craft, you're not going to
Yeah.
learn from watching, but you can learn enough to get you
Oh,
to a
you
point that it can take you to the next level. I think it's like
totally.
that's the stepping stone is like, okay, try to copy this guy and try to
Yeah. And it,
make exactly what he just made. And
mhm,
then you're going to learn so much from there.
mhm. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I remember seeing like the first time I saw a guide on a sewing machine, and I thought, oh, duh,
Mhm.
that's how you sew a straight line on a sewing. Like, duh,
Yeah.
like but
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, you know.
Yeah.
But unless you see a little clip, I don't know. I think I think that's what's really fun about like learning and being a student of a
Mhm.
craft or something is like you get those aha moments that just
Yep.
open your whole world, and what a fun thing to just be engaged in, like problem solving, you know?
Exactly. I think there's a lot of opportunity for videos to go into detail because have you ever noticed um, you see a make and for whatever reason they're using the exact same leather, looks like they're using the exact same punch, everything looks exactly the same, but everything just looks a little bit more crisp, and a lot of it has to do with the burnishing, I find, and how they finish their edges. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there needs to be more tutorials on how to make crisp, burnished edges and talk about the leather and how different leathers have different quality of burnishes, right? If you take like a harness leather from Wickett and Craig, right? Or what's another one? Butero is a really good burnisher as well,
Oh, you
right?
look, dude, you can use your spit and that thing will
Exactly.
come to a shine. There's like, I thought about this recently. I was like, all right, like if I'm gonna do some type of like gimmicky reel
Hmm.
video um on a like a burnishing or something like that. I think I was thinking about like stacked layers and making it look really pretty. I was like, well, for the video, I would like absolutely use Butero because
Sure.
it would just turn out really, really nice. It go it goes quick. But yeah, the that's funny. Like the edge thing, like you know, yeah, having like nice even edges is like that's what everyone should strive for.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think this whole obsession with like glass, it kind of I like it. I admire it. Like I think it's really cool. Like if you can do that, like more power to you. Um, there's so many steps that have to happen before the edge gets to looking like that, and it's
Yeah.
like it starts out with like the pattern prepping,
Yep.
like
Yep.
and I mean I can't tell you how many times we got questions at RMLS that was like, how do I get cleaner stitching, or how do it's just like, well, I mean, it's not you're not getting the clean stitching when you're putting the needles on the thread and putting it in your saddle, like putting it in your pony. That's not how you get clean stitching.
Speaking
You
of
know,
clean stitching, here's some clean stitching right here.
oh, maybe for just like that portion of it.
Don't be
That's why
so
I zoomed
modest
in.
here. What was this new technique that you're using?
Yeah, you know, I um I laid out this was a so this wallet I'm holding it here. Um, but yeah, so like this piece was just I didn't even do back pockets because I was trying to hustle through it and just finish the project
Hmm.
because I was just testing out some stuff. So this one I laid out stitching every single stitch I laid out beforehand. I pre-punched and did all that stuff, like punched from both sides and um,
Before gluing?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I yes, I I think about this often, and I think like if it's possible, and I kind of learned this from Brad from Left Foot. He's really cool too. He'll answer any question you throw at him. But I remember him once telling me that like when he was laying out patterns, he was telling me I remember like messaging him, and I remember like how long ago it was because I was still a warehouse worker at Rocky Mountain, and I remember messaging him on my lunch, and I was like, wait, I was like, you're prepping your patterns by laying out stitching spacing first. And he was like, oh yeah. And like, dude, it just didn't click. And then as I like thought about that concept over and over and over again, I just was like, oh, like, duh. Um, like you've got your pricking iron.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going so far. It's only gonna you can only fit 3.38 spacing in certain parameters. And that's just the way it is. And if you want, I don't know. So I set out on like a goal or a quest to kind of like take his techniques and sort of like try to figure them out without just like I asked him a bunch of questions, but I really he was like telling me he pre-punched everything and he talks about it. He's got some videos and
Mm-hmm.
shows like images and stuff. And I just was like I tried
So
it a few times and just never did it right,
because what the holes weren't lining up.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, so in laying out a pattern, like I'd get in Adobe Illustrator, I'd have like every stitch space would be even, right? And like in a digitized file. And then you'd print it out, then you print it out, then you push the holes into the template first, and you do all of this prep work before you've even looked at your leather, right? And it just sort of was like really, I think there's like this impatient, like, I don't know, like things should be fast. And I think not everyone, I do think there's like a trend of like, hey, I'm a leather crafter. I've been doing this for a while. And now I want to like make junk that's
I want to
like,
push this out in production.
yeah. And I find that it same conflict within myself, with just finishing up a corporate order and having one more big one to do right after this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're great. They bring in a check. I do a half down, half on delivery thing, and that works well for all my stockists. And um, you know, so it's great because it brings in the money where I don't have to worry about selling a wallet every day to survive. Um, so
Yep.
you know, I don't know, but then again, like but the way I ramped up production then was like I got dies made and I got like a small hand press and
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, but like you can't just like stop making good things because you want to make a buck. And I think that's the problem with taking anything. If you don't look at yourself as a student at something while you're truly learning it, and you're not like you're going to want to try to monetize. You're going to want to try to like, but that's this like,
Rush.
oh, I get these like Instagram ads for like these like entrepreneurial like alpha male talks, and it's like how to like it's just like I don't know how to
Like
start a
that
drop
jacked
shipping
car salesman.
company.
Have you seen that guy on yet?
Yeah, just things like that. And it's like, dude, like you don't have to seize the day every day. Like some days you can
Sometimes you
snooze
can
the
just
day. I
relax,
don't.
man.
Yeah,
Fucking
like
chill, dude.
yes, there's no days off. Like to me it's like why pick a different medium? Like choose something
Yeah.
else. Like I remember getting into like I don't even call it an argument. There was one crafter who posted like they just posted a YouTube video on like breaking down stitching for every and what thread size to pick for every pricking iron size,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm just naturally kind of an asshole, and I'm like, all right, fine. Like in my mind I was like, what did he miss? And I was like, I just commented, I was like, you didn't even touch on needle size. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of like, I think that's a fail. And I didn't
Yeah.
say that, but I was like, you didn't touch on needle size. And like, oh, I got like flack from like 4 different accounts that were like, not necessary, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, fine.
It
Like,
kind of is.
I
But
guess,
yeah.
like, if y'all don't think that the size of the needle that you're using doesn't have an impact on how your stitch is going to look in the end, and
Mm-hmm.
like maybe that's not what the video was about. Maybe the video was just about like, oh, use 0.55 thread with 3.38 stitching and
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like sick. Why make the video? What
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not going to go into if you're going to make a hand stitching video, make a fucking hand stitching video. Like
Yeah.
do it. And you know, um, whatever. So, but it got me thinking about this concept of like, if you're this craft is like, it's so silly. Like, why do it? Why?
If
Like, why? If you're not truly trying to like do your best every single time, I don't know. I'm waxing poetic here, but I,
no,
I
I
don't
hear
know.
you.
I don't
I
get
hear
the
you on
mindset of,
this. It
yeah,
is. It's slowing down. Like you just said
totally.
about like seize the day every day, blah blah blah. It's not necessary. Slowing down, taking your time, and enjoying what you're doing is what's important. I think about this. So I was just renovating, doing some renovations,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and my I started, and this was like a 6 month process. The first 3 months, 4 months, I really fucking hated it because I just wanted to get it done. And I
Yeah.
wasn't learning anything. I wasn't doing a good job. Like it turned out fine, but I had to like redo it a couple times, whatever it may be, like baseboards
Oh
or
my,
fucking
that
flooring,
concept.
whatever.
Yeah. All right.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm thinking to myself, I need to learn this thing. I should learn this thing and I should try to enjoy learning this thing because it's going to come in handy one day. So, what I had to do was slow down. And really what it was when I slowed down, I put the prep work in before I actually started the job. It wasn't rushing to the job and then having to realizing I need this tool, I need that tool. Oh, I still need to go that, and that really distracts you from getting the job done, right? So now I'm running out, getting that, coming back, and then 2 hours is gone. I haven't even done really anything. So slowing down made me realize, okay, well, what do I need? I need this. Okay, I need that. Okay, this design, this draw this out right now. And then once everything's all my ducks are in a row, now let's do the job. And now the job was enjoyable because I just slowed it down at the very the precursor, right? Same with
Totally, man.
anything. Same with leather
Yep.
craft, same with in that case building a house, same with anything in
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. Like, I mean, why not? I get it. Like, circumstances change everything, and you know, but yeah, like, why? Like, by doing trade work when I was laying tile, I realized that like the professional tile worker and the best tile worker, the difference. It, I mean, the difference between that, like you can like once I realized I could learn and be better or as good as the guy that I was working with. Like once I learned how to do that, I realized like, oh, it was just the everyday showing up and just being patient with it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it will come to
Patience.
you. But yeah, like I think that's the one thing with leatherwork that, I mean, this is true for all, but like, yeah, dude, the patience. Like I I don't know how many times I've told you. So like when so um the way I make stuff is I'll draw things out. I'll have a vision in my head. I'll draw them out, and then from the sketches they go into Adobe Illustrator because that's I'm comfortable with that program. Been using it for years, and
Mm-hmm.
um, by doing so, like I'll take it from the program, and then I have a Cricut machine, and then I will cut it out on cardstock out of or with the Cricut machine,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll come down and I'll fold it up with paper, whatever it takes to get the idea of the design. But I can't tell you how many times, like, even in that process, I find myself like itching to rush it forward.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny because, like, with this wallet, I totally rushed it. And the pattern that I had made was infinity stitching all the way around, and then I break the stitching here. I didn't think about that as I was making this because I had made the pattern for whatever. And in doing so, I got right at the end, dude. Like, the thing was pretty damn good, and I had like one off stitch at the end because like and it and it's fine, like it's whatever, and I learned, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
then I made another one like a couple days later, and it was all good. But
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, like the rushing, like what you said about, you'd end up doing the thing like three or four times.
Yeah.
Like
Or it
my
takes
sewing
forever and you
teacher,
stop enjoying the process.
yeah, you get so frustrated that
Yeah.
you just want to quit or give up.
Yeah.
um, my sewing teacher told me she'd be like, never say I'm going to hurry up and do this.
Yeah.
She's like, because you're going to like the
Yeah.
bobbin gets all fucked. The needle, oh, it turns out your needle wasn't in, so you got to put
Yeah.
the needle in.
Yeah.
It's never, there's never, I don't know.
It's
But
the prep work.
I
For
think,
me, it's the prep work.
yeah, yeah. So okay, so like you had a question on that stitching, right? So that
Yeah.
was all of that work was done way before the cutting was even happening. And then from there, it's like the careful transferring of the pattern to the leather, which I think is more important than probably all the later steps, right?
Mhm.
Like if you don't trace that pattern properly, you've just given yourself like, yeah, I mean, why? I don't know. Not why even make it, but I don't know.
I got to show
It's
you
not.
something.
I don't know.
Give me two
Yeah,
seconds. I'm going to show you a pattern I'm working on right now. And this kind of like
that's it.
honestly segues and it's exactly what we're talking about. Give me 1 second.
Perfect. Perfect.
Fuck, I'm just running around right now trying to find this thing. Luckily, we can edit that little pause out. But
I love it. Keep
yeah,
it.
seriously, this
That's
bad
funny.
boy right here.
So,
So I just made this on the 3D printer.
oh shit. Okay, yeah, I saw this on Instagram the other day. So, let me ask you. So, you, are you putting in what I think you're doing is you're putting in like in one rectangle, you're putting in your pieces and tracing them all kind of at the same time. Is that what I'm?
No, like so the full rectangle would be say your back layer, right?
Sure. Yeah, your exterior. Okay.
My exterior, and then I have my top, and
Okay.
then my T fold right here.
Yeah. Okay.
This right here is where the cutting line would be,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So that way you can
Hmm.
have your cut line on the T fold, the front, and your exterior when you lay it
Hmm.
down and you glue. So now everything's lined up. So you know exactly how everything needs to be lined up from the outer perimeter and the cut line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't know how well this is going to turn out. This is my second iteration. The first one was shit and it was moving
Yeah.
all around. And honestly, it did not matter with this cut line right here
Yeah.
because it didn't work. So I'm trying to
Sure.
iterate to a good enough point where this tool works well, but I don't know how many iterations it's going to take. So
Gonna
the
take.
the thought is
Yeah.
what we're on about is this is going to be a long process and I better enjoy
Uh-huh.
it because
Yes.
if this isn't right, then I can't sell it or else
Yeah.
there's no point in buying it.
So, and there's like, and that's like, I think behind every like good, um, behind every good product is like it is that it provides some type of solution,
Hmm.
right? So with that, like when that solves those issues that you're trying to solve, like
Yeah.
I mean, that's like yeah, that's pretty sweet. I love that. So are
You're
you 3D print?
I was just going to say
Go ahead.
you're making me think now that I should almost like I should make these specifically with the types of hole punches that I'm going to be using.
Oh, oh yeah,
So that
yeah.
way you know
So
exactly where one starts. Okay, there's the
mhm,
width of one. Okay, one's
yep.
there. Okay, there, and you know exactly how it lines up. You're making me think that that's
Yes,
important right now, and I don't know. Is that? Do you think it is important?
it's absolutely important
Okay.
because like you have a stitching iron, right? So you're going to be picking from whatever your spacing that you
Yeah.
kind of like the most. I
Yeah.
tend to use 3.38. I bought a 3.38 and a 3.0, and I use 3.0 enough, but I stick to 3.38, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like so here's like I got my machine. I don't know if you can really see that, but I got my machine to cut the angled stitching marks
Hmm.
for my pricking irons.
Yeah.
And so now, when my Cricut machine cuts this out, I got the exterior, everything dialed with the stitching lines like there. So all I have to do is rest my iron in there and just roll it.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I think you stop that headache later on. Like especially when you've got like pockets right here that have stitching that's definitely going to overlap,
Hmm.
you you have to plan out for that.
Yes.
Otherwise, you get fucked.
Yeah.
And you could cut it out of the nicest leather and blah 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 blah. Take all your time, and if you get to that point, you didn't think about that spacing over, um, I yeah, I think there. It's funny. I so lately I've been trying to like go back and like this is just no rounded corners, nothing. Like this is just an example of like, can I lay out pockets, a T pocket, lay it out, layers, lining, stitch, punch beforehand, stitch together, and have it be better than I was doing it. Because if
Hmm.
it's not, then I'm wasting my time and I'm better off, you know. But I don't know, man. There's something so terrifying about like, let's say this had the two pockets on the back as well. Like if
Hmm.
you're laying it down and you've got your irons and you're straddling those lines and you're like sitting there and you better hope, you know, that when
That
it comes
everything's
through on the backside, if you're stitching through, that
yeah.
it doesn't bite or, you know, and I think like, oh, what a miserable feeling to just do all that work because that's like the last step usually,
Yeah.
right? Is
Yeah.
people are glued, they've skived if they're skiving, and they're about to punch through this beautiful thing that could totally, I don't know. So
So do you
in
think there?
in
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So do you think that there is some significance in having okay, scratch all here? This is your first cut.
Yeah.
Okay, this is your cut to level out the edges,
Uh-huh.
and then a third line which is specific to your pricking iron
Mm.
that you can then have your hole punches and you know exactly. So we're talking about doing it in a way that you're using your picket iron before it's put together, like that technique that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, cut everything out, prick it,
Yeah.
put it together,
Hmm.
and then cut
Hmm.
down this seam.
So
Does that make sense
what
to
I
you?
would, yeah, in some ways I see where you're going with it.
Okay.
What I would do is um I would if you so are you is it laser? Are you cutting those with a laser?
This is 3D,
It's 3D printed.
3D printer.
So what I would do is make a little canal that fits your irons.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can slide that iron like right into like an opening basically.
The
Yeah.
third line
Yep.
right here. Make it a third or
Yep.
second canal right there.
Totally. And so
Yeah.
make that and you don't even have to lay out the stitching like in these little holes. Like you don't have to do that the whole time. I actually will take these and tape them to leather.
Okay.
So I'll tape it. I'll tape it. Scratch all. Um, and then mark the stitching. So the stitching's marked beforehand. Um, then I cut, and it depends if you were lining, you would line and then cut. I don't know. It's just, but yeah, I would put like, if you design your pattern right, you could have starting and stopping points for your stitches. Where if you knew they would
Yep.
lay out perfectly, you could make those one indicators and you could mark it. Um, Either while you're laying out your pattern, you could just put your pricking iron, just do like one mark, and
Yep.
that starts it, right?
That
I've got
makes
this
sense.
design
That
here
makes
where
sense. Cool.
yeah, like I don't need to mark the stitching on this because I know that it can stop here and it's going to, you know, not significant, not important. I don't punch both sides of this because there's no fucking reason to. It's just
Yeah.
punch it and
Exactly.
do a cast over stitch on the back and it looks really good.
Yep.
So like in that sense, no sense in doing that. If you're going to be lining up something like this with layers and linings and things like that, why not just lay it all out, get it laid out. But yeah, that's like I think once I started trying to design all my patterns around stitching spacing,
Hmm.
that's when everything just got, in my opinion, for my own work, that's when I started to really elevate uh, for myself. I started achieving a stitch that I was kind of like that I was happy with. You know,
Say that again, just one more time. What was it that elevated?
I just laying out my patterns like because I try to make as much of my own stuff as I can, even if it's a basic thing. I'll try my hardest to not download anything. I'll try to design it. But laying out designs with stitching spacing decided first,
Okay.
um, I think is probably like I mean, I think it's crucial. So I'll show you. Like, this is an example. So like on this, there's a pricking iron hole right in the middle of this. So when it's folded in half, that iron is hits right in the middle. The iron hits right in the middle here, right in the middle here. So
I
like
see.
depending, you know, but in doing and and the reason why I do that is, well, you can then change your corner radius. Well, there's I think I'm not I don't I wish I had like a degree in this, but like I think if you're working with a certain spacing, and I think um, there's people like Brad that have mastered this, and I think they understand it better than I do. But if you have an even point in your stitching in the middles, you can then take this radius and manipulate that. But there's only going to be so many options that work because you're working with 3.38 with your offset from your edge. And that's the other thing is you have to decide if you're going to lay out stuff like this, you have to decide right away. And maybe you're like, you have to really nail down, like, are you going 3 millimeters in from the edge, 4 millimeters in from the edge? And it has to be pretty damn consistent. So I have like I have one of these cheapo Tandy craft tool edge crease, like edge, whatever. I've had
Yep.
this since I don't like why get a new one. It works. And I have this set, so I don't really touch this. I use this to mark my if I'm not transferring stitching marks, um, then I'm using this to set my line. Um, I have this I have
Yep.
this lighter sleeve that folds up, and with this, I don't pre-mark anything because these are all die cut. So, anyways, I just know that if same idea with that card sleeve is I can just start at a certain point. But I'll use that to sit. So I don't change that. I usually work with about 4 millimeters in from the edge. Sometimes 3 millimeters depends on the project. But so once you have that stuff decided,
Yep.
your pattern making kind of should revolve around that. And
Yep.
so like with something like this was a test to test that theory that I had where if I have a middle mark with an even stitch and then a middle mark here, I mean, dude, it just makes like laying out pockets like
Yeah.
alignment so much easier. Like, you know,
Dude, I'm so
I don't know.
happy that you've that we're having this conversation because I've been wondering about this time and like yeah, I don't know if I explained it well enough. This is where the edge creaser would be. Like this is where you would
Yep.
use your edge creaser instead of already put it
Hmm.
in, so you know
Yep.
exactly how this is going to line up and where you're going to cut.
Yeah.
And then it makes so much sense to have another one for your picking iron. So now you know exactly how everything's going to line up before you put it together. Fucking right, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
I
glad we
mean,
had this conversation.
yeah, dude. So we'll have to. Are you using Illustrator?
I use
What program are you
Sketcher
using?
3D.
Okay. Um,
So
interesting.
here,
Does
I'll
that and
actually
so, oh, so that
I'll bring it up
works.
for
Oh,
you.
duh, because you're 3D printing it. So,
Yeah. Now it does have 2D versions, like files that you can. Um,
well, yeah. So like you could basically like I'm thinking of this in like a flat sense. Like you could lay out all this stuff on a flat like image, I guess, and then transfer it over to your program super easily.
yeah,
Um, dude, I'll show you how I
absolutely, we could. Yeah, let me
yeah,
show
I
you what I'm using here. How much
totally.
time do you
I'm
have?
curious. I'm chilling, man. We could.
Okay,
We're
cool.
what are
Because
we
I
at?
have a
We're
feeling
three
that I still
hour and
got
a
tons
half.
to.
Yeah,
I
I
still
know.
got tons of fucking questions lined up for you, man.
I I know, man. I know. I can just chat.
No, it's good. I'm learning a shit ton, and I hope everyone listening to this is too. I know they are
Yeah,
actually.
I've I've helped a few helped a few crafters digitize their patterns.
Mhm.
I have helped a local one as well that was like getting dies manufactured, and they needed DXF files for their um, stuff. I mean, they could have worked with PDFs too, but so I took on the task of like taking all of this person's designs with their arbitrary measurements and transferring them all digitally. And god damn, like was a headache, but it's worth it. I mean, it's a fun thing too. I've thought about like offering it out as like a service almost too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that would use that service. I believe so.
I'm like, why not? Dude, this is rad.
Yeah. So this software is awesome. It's just like any other CAD software. It comes built in on the Macs. I finally made the jump and got a Mac because I could not edit a video for the life of me on my
Oh,
Windows. It would bog down after
what
skipping ahead 2 minutes.
what do you
Uh,
use for editing video?
I use DaVinci.
You're using
Now I
DaVinci.
do because
Okay, cool.
it's free, right?
No,
So
DaVinci's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
I know a lot of professionals that use that like over Premiere Pro. I mean, they use both, but
yeah,
they'll yeah, whatever.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah. So
sick. That's so
this is
rad.
a 3D outline, and yeah, I mean, you can render it too if you want to, depending on what you're making. But in this case, I don't need to render it just because I don't need to make it look any different, or I don't have any sex appeal to it right now.
Yeah,
Um,
there's it doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
yeah.
But then, like, so if I want to go ahead, and let me see if I remember, I can take this and oh, where the heck is this? Oh, right here. Why can't I? I'm still pretty new to this, so give me a second here.
I love it, man.
Transform tools, visualize. So if I go into visualize, this is where I can render it. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that right now. Oh, shoot. My
gonna
bad.
crash the. It could crashes the computer.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Uh, so am I rendering? What's going on here? I'm just trying to show you.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
It's
so
got a
yeah,
bunch of.
if I wanted to put on, this is where this comes in handy that I can skip out some of this stuff in the actual
Yeah,
video.
the
So if I
post
wanted to say put
production.
on this red, yeah, exactly. We're rendering it right now to that color to whatever environment we want.
Yeah,
And
putting
then I
some
should
gloss
be
or
able
whatever
to,
on
yeah,
it.
here
Yeah.
we go, 2D modeling. So this is where what I'm offering, what I'll probably be offering is I'll offer the 3D version.
Mhm.
Uh, and then I will go ahead and in my 2Ds, create a 2D, if it works, of this. Come on, man. And landscape it. And then here we go. Now we'll have our 2Ds. So now if we wanted to, someone could
Got
just
it.
print out a sheet of this and use this as a stencil.
They could just use that. So okay, sick. So are you
So it's not a
gonna?
bad
Is your
software,
plan?
but a lot to learn on
No,
it, lots to still do.
totally. Dude, that's sick. Dude, the 3D printing, man, like my buddy, or not my buddy, but I mean, yeah, we're buddies. But um, Crump Handmade, dude, he's been making such really cool jigs. I got a couple of his like corner jigs. Um,
Yes.
he also he also this is one of my favorite things, but he's got these rivet dishes. Um, and
Cool.
I set a lot of rivets when I'm making camera straps. And anyways, he's so cool. He like every time he makes something, I was like, damn, dude. He's always like, any leather crafter's like, you need to get a 3D printer, need to get. And it's like, oh man, I just feel like there's one in my future for
Yeah.
sure.
It's I mean, I haven't done much with it yet. I'm still learning, but I
Yeah.
can see how it's going to come in a lot of handy.
Oh, once you get like, it's so fun. Like, I was talking about this concept with my buddy, and it was like once you learn your craft, any craft, well enough that the barriers to create are gone.
Mhm.
That's when I mean that's freedom, like you get that program down and then you'll just like be able to just whip up stuff that comes to your mind like it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a type of guy that when he first starts, he just tries it on his own without looking for books, courses, or tutorials, and you just like free for all, fly in, try it, or do you sit down and learn it before you put pen to paper or
I don't know,
knife to
man.
knife to leather?
Yeah, it's you know I think it kind of depends. I I've got my brain that works really well for skiing and like stuff like that and biking. I cycle a lot as well, and um, that's been one of those things that I think trial and error was like hugely with like with cycling. Like I'm fairly new to cycling, but I've been skiing like for a long time, and with bikes, getting into bikes. I mean, God, there's so much that I didn't know, and um, I bought like a fixed gear and I just bought like a single speed fixed gear and that's like was my first bike that I owned and that was a few years ago and because that to me was like this is so simple. I don't need to know how to tune this thing. I can just slap it together, build it and like the small stuff I learned from building that bike. Yeah, I don't know. But with photography, videography, um, Illustrator and stuff like that, that side of things, like I try to absorb as much as I
Hmm.
can. I will do like I eat dinner and I watch like Premiere Pro tutorials. Like
Yeah.
I I was just watching right before like when you messaged me, you're like I'm ready when you are. I was like oh shit, but I was watching just I was just watching camera tutorials. Like I don't know that so that side of things I love to learn as much or as much as I can beforehand. But
Yeah.
like the skiing, skating, biking thing, I'm all about just like send it, just like figure it out,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
learn
For
as you
sure.
go. So I don't know, man. Just depends.
You seem like a really honest person, which is a good quality to have in my like I think it's a great quality to have.
I'm curious.
Were you
I'm curious what
always
makes
an
you.
honest person?
I'm curious what makes you say that.
Just the way that you're speaking, your tone of voice, the way that you're not hesitating before you say something. You're just gonna say it without really thinking about how
Yeah,
my reaction might be. And that's just usually just
dude.
tone of voice for me. It's just how quick your
Yeah.
sentences flow. Is that a true statement that you're an honest person, or am I picking up the wrong vibe?
No, I think like I said, I before I think I'm a different person now. I talk often about that with my partner. Um, like I've got a checkered past, and I I don't know, man. Like I quit drinking a few years ago, like I mentioned, and I started going to a lot of therapy and doing weekly therapy while in that new world of sobriety. And I say
Mhm.
sobriety, like I just I don't drink. I still like smoke weed and eat mushrooms and
Yeah,
but
the
I
fun
just
stuff.
don't. Yeah, like I always the thing I jokingly say all the time. I'm like drinking's bad, drugs are cool. No, but no, I'm not. Like I don't know. I think if it works for you and it makes you happy, then do it. Um, but with that, dude, like I there's no way I could make the real progress that I wanted to make in therapy without like being brutally honest with my therapist and myself.
Hmm.
And it was really uncomfortable at times. And I don't know, man. Uh, I I I try to be like I think sharing my experience or like sharing like an honest experience with someone, like whatever it might be, is really like I don't know, man. Like I think there's something really beautiful about knowing that like you're not perfect and that you've made mistakes and like yeah, I don't know. I was just joking with my friends the other night. Like it was just my birthday and I had some friends over and I was like talking about like how I used to run out of gas all the time. Like it's like I would get flat tires all the time. I would run out of gas. I'd call my dad and my dad would be like, "You run out of gas again?" Like I was just kind of a dumbass. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, man. So I think there's something really and I don't know. I'm really proud of where I'm at in life and just with my mental state and all the changes that I've kind of implemented and kind of practiced. And so, yeah, I would say I am an honest person. Like, do I lie? Like, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everybody kind of lies to some extent, but I think that's more of like withholding, like I don't really share if I'm sharing it, it's because I feel passionately about it. Like I keep some things close to me and keep like I guess I don't know, you call them secrets, but like
Withholding, yeah.
yeah, just like sometimes I don't share everything, but I found like some real beauty and real power in sharing.
Hmm.
Um, And like, dude, fucking, we all make mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
I, I don't know, and so I don't know. I guess I would say that. Like, I
I was
really enjoy being open with people.
Yeah. I have a friend that he he seems to fib, probably lie, over exaggerate the truth way too often.
Okay.
And for the longest time, I would just hang out with him a lot. And I wanted to do the exact opposite of that. So um, when I would catch myself over exaggerating something, I would have to
Hmm.
stop and say, "Oh, sorry, I just lied." Right? And I do that all the time at work. Like I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm lying right now," and then stop and then round back. And it'd be something as simple as like someone's like, how much do you make? And we'll just throw out an arbitrary number, five hundred
Yeah.
dollars a week or $400 a week, and then it'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, sorry, I just lied.
Yeah.
It's actually 350." You know,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
it makes you feel
Yeah.
better once you round back and be like, fuck it. Why did I do that? It's not necessary.
I think we find like, and that's kind of what I meant by like those, like, yeah, fib's a good way to put it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that, um, God, I do this all the time. Like, my toxic trait is that like I underestimate how long things are going to take.
Mm.
Um, like I have a couple of buddies that I trail run with, and we were scoping something out the other day. It was like, it was a big number for us in miles, and I was like, oh, like, we'll get it done in like 2.5 hours, and they just like look at me and laugh. And so now it's like this running joke that like my my predictions of time are so out. They're just like, oh, sure.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Dude,
I don't know. I think,
I was
yeah,
just
I
in
don't know.
BC, man, and we were hiking a first mountain I've ever fucking climbed. It was 1,053 meters or something like that. And to me, it was
Okay.
like I don't know if that's big from where you're from. You're from like where mountains are born, basically. So I don't know if that's big,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
to
so
me,
meters to feet though. I can't ever like remember how to do that.
I'll look it up. But anyways,
Yeah.
like on the way up, I'm like, "How far are we?" He's like, "Oh, 2 more hours." I'm like,
I
okay.
love it.
2 hours
Yeah.
pass. I'm like, dude, how far are we up? He's like, probably like another. We're almost there, man. Like another like 30 minutes, and then like an hour passes. I'm like, where are we? He's like, we're almost there. Like 10 more
Yeah.
minutes, and then fucking another hour passes. I'm like, dude, stop fucking doing this to me. Just tell me where we are on this damn
Yep.
mountain.
Hmm. Yes, I'm guilty of that. Like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, it won't take long at all. And then we get home and it's like been like 4 hours. And I'm like, oh, sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, a thousand
Yeah.
fifty-three meters is 3,400 feet.
Sick. That's a good climb.
Is it a good
It's a
climb?
very good, that's a very good climb.
Awesome.
Yeah. Out here in Salt Lake, like in the Salt Lake Valley, there's probably, uh, like six world-class ski resorts in like a 30-minute drive, truly.
Hmm.
Um, so like from where I live, I can go right outside my door, climb up a canyon, and from the top of the canyon back on the road is like 30 miles, and it's like 3,500 feet of vert.
Okay.
Um, Pretty significant. So I'm lucky, and so
Yeah.
I love that. Like that's what, like, I think that's one of my favorite things. I could be happy like hiking in the mountains every day. I think it
Yeah.
could be it could be great. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. There's something about being being somewhere that's um, it's challenging.
I think it's also like it's one of those like things where we call it type two fun,
Mhm.
in the ski industry. And it's like when a ski tour, when you get done and the skiing was shitty and the skin was shitty and the conditions were shitty, but you still had fun, like
Yeah.
type two kind of fun, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like character building in some ways sometimes. But I mean, yeah, I don't know, something clicked in me like this spring, and I was like, I live in one of the most beautiful places. Like, the access here is nuts. I need to like take advantage of this. And
Yeah.
so
No,
it's,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
man.
love to come out. If I ever come out, I'll definitely hit you up. And you can
Dude, of
take me up
course.
that mountain. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
would love
great, man.
that.
I love it.
Um, all right, man. What do you say we round up here and we can
Yeah.
get into the speed round?
Oh,
Um,
there's a speed round?
there's a
All right,
speed round. Oh yeah.
let's do it. Okay, let me grab a phone charger and
Okay.
I'll be right back.
All right.
It said that it started a new recording because I switched audio.
If it, we'll find out then. It's been pretty good, so I'm sure I got it. Probably just, I'm sure I got it. Yeah.
Just maybe just started and stopped. Okay, but
Yeah.
you'll have it on your end because you said it links it. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
All right.
speed round.
Speed round. Here it goes. Um, all right. What's your favorite tool to use?
Oh God, my favorite tool to use. Um,
Yeah. Mallet.
yeah, man. Like this is one of those things I wish I would have bought. This is a Berry King 24 ounce. Like, don't know why I waited so long to buy like a weighted proper mallet. I'll have this thing. This thing will go to like if I ever have. It'll get passed down. That thing's never going anywhere. I love it. I use it. It's probably my most used tool, I would say, because it slaps all the hole punches and pricking irons. Not because you didn't even ask, but my second favorite tool is probably my. I also have a Berry King #5 French edger. I don't use it a lot, but when but when I do use it, I'm always like, this thing is fucking badass. So yeah, probably
How
that.
long did it take you to get good at using that?
The French edger is I've skived like full bag, like rolled top bags with it. It's okay. I was lucky enough to buy it from my friend Robin. She is the main designer of all of Rocky Mountain's house patterns. She's incredible. Like I've learned so much from this person. She's
Mhm.
like one of my best friends. Um, she sold it to me because she works at Rocky Mountain. Anyways, so when she bought it, she had like finished it really, really well. So it was like sharp and as polished as it could be. So I've been really lucky that I only have to strop it every now and then
Yep.
and just, yeah. I only use it for a few things, but it's kind of irreplaceable. I mean, you got to have one. Like,
Did it take?
I do these, no, it didn't take long to get used to it.
No.
I
Okay.
think a nice French edger should prevent you from fucking up
Okay.
in some ways. Like if that thing is sharp and that thing is honed just right, it that thing no, it just dude, it just glides. Like I have these little I use them as display stands. Let's see if this can. So like when I do a market, um, I'll have like these little stands and they just fold up on themselves. So y'all can all steal this. But on the insides right here, I'll do a French edger, just a right on the inside of there, so
Okay.
that it
Just so
folds up.
the fold's not as bulky.
Yeah, because then I rivet it right here, so that it kind of takes some of that bulk away.
Yep.
But having something like that is so great. Yeah, I like that. It's like I like that tool a lot. Yeah.
What's your
Um,
favorite book
I
slash
yeah.
movie?
Favorite book. Favorite book is East of Eden. Um, John Steinbeck, classic American author. I lived in Monterey, California as a kid, and he was based in Monterey County, and so growing up with his literature was sweet. I still like that book. I've read it many times, and I'll go back to it. It's a bitch, and it's such a bitch. It's a huge book, but the story's great. And movie,
Book of Eden.
I've been saying that my East of Eden,
East
the
of
book.
Eden.
Yeah,
Sorry, East of Eden. Okay, cool. I'm looking
yeah,
that up.
it's so good. They made a movie of it, and way back when, and James Dean was um, in East of Eden. Anyways, blah blah. So favorite movie probably um, I don't know. One of my favorites is Inherent Vice. Um, it's got Joaquin Phoenix in it, a bunch of other people. Josh Brolin's in it, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Josh Brolin. Yeah,
yeah, and
Owen Wilson.
it's done by yeah, it's done by God, dude, what is his name? What's you got it pulled up?
I've got to pull up Paul Thomas Anderson.
Bingo. Okay, thank you. So Paul Thomas Anderson, he uses um, Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. He
Okay.
uses him a lot for his movies. Johnny Greenwood did the um, he did the music to There Will Be Blood,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so cool. So anyway, so I'm a huge Radiohead fan, and anyways, but that movie Inherent Vice came out. Johnny Greenwood did a lot of the soundtrack. So here I am talking about my favorite movie. Maybe it's more that the soundtrack's so good.
Dude, There Will Be
I don't
Blood
know.
is a fantastic movie too.
So good. Yeah, I think everyone needs to see that.
That's like a
That's
character
a great
arc
movie,
right there. Like how that
dude. It's so good.
it really is.
Yeah,
Goes
dude.
from
It's
like
like
a
you watch it.
goes from a good man and how he
Don't
develops
spoil it.
as a person is
Yeah.
really really good.
Yeah, and I think that's like a greed and consumption
Yeah.
movie. Like, just there's yeah. Anyways, yeah, good question.
If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Um, yeah, I've jokingly always said that I would like to retire in Monterey, California. Like I said, grew up there as a kid. I loved it. My dad was in the military, and so he was stationed there while he was a linguist for the military, and so we lived there for a long time. And I love that climate. It's like misty, it's foggy all the time. It's pretty cold for the coast of California.
Hmm.
It starts. That's like right when in the middle. It's like right in the middle of California, so it's right where it kind of starts to tip into like the colder, kind of more like not. It's not like Southern California. But yeah, if I could retire there, I think.
Um, did you pick up any skills as from your father from being a linguist? Do you know other languages?
No, I wish he would have taught me Chinese. I know a few words,
Yeah,
but
that seems like a
no.
pretty cool profession.
Um, yeah, it was cool. He was basically a school teacher in the military, and then when he retired, he actually landed on. He's an educator now. He's teaches middle school, but not Chinese. But um, yeah, I love. I wished I was bilingual. My partner, she's fluent in Spanish, and she
Yeah,
actually is a Spanish. Sometimes she teaches Spanish too.
yeah,
Um, so it's really cool. It fascinates me
yeah.
truly. Like
I've
I've
been
always
learning
been so
Spanish
envious.
for about 5 6 years now.
Dude, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, because my girlfriend's she's Spanish. She's from Colombia. She moved here when she was 13. So
Wow.
before I met
Dude,
her, actually, I
sick.
was wanting to learn Spanish, and then somehow we met up at work, and we started seeing each other, and then I kept
Dude,
on continuing the learnings because, in order to speak to her grandparents or her family in Colombia, I got to know it. I was always interested in the language, and now I've gotten to a point where I can have good conversations. Now, there's a lot of words that I gap out on, of course, but
sure.
it's just, hey,
Yeah,
slow it down for me. Can you say that in a different way? And then usually pick it back up again, right? Pick the conversation back up again. But yeah,
totally.
it's been a really, I guess I'm very proud that I know know a second language and obviously still
Dude,
wanting to learn.
yeah, do you feel like I did you feel I think it's pretty normal to feel this, but did you ever feel like kind of like embarrassed to peak or to speak poor Spanish to
Oh,
native
yeah.
speakers?
Oh,
Yeah.
to other Spanish speakers?
Like to native
Oh,
speakers, like
absolutely.
where
I still do. Like I will I'll sit at one of their parties and just like I can understand Spanish way better than I can speak it. Like I can sit
yeah,
down
I hear
in a
that's kind of
room
a
and
thing,
just
yeah.
totally understand what's going on and understand what they're talking about. And I'll just wait for someone to say something to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. And then I'll have to kind of dig into it and start. And once you dig into it enough and go on a 10 minute or 5 minute conversation, then it starts to kind of warm up on you. But yeah, my
Sure.
speaking for me for sure, it's I'm still embarrassed, but it's fluent enough that everyone understands what I'm saying, and I'm probably
Cool.
gapping or not saying certain sentences in the proper structure, but it works. It works. So
Yeah. Did you go about like on like a structured plan with that, or did you just kind of like
Yeah, like
How did you set out to like, you know what I mean?
I started with like Duolingo before I met
Yeah,
Valentina, so just free online. And
yeah,
then I work with actually a bunch of Mexicans. So they come down here
yeah,
for 6, 7 months of the year. Awesome people.
yeah.
And I
Cool.
work directly with them. So really that helped a lot with
Yeah,
understanding and conversations. And then I took a couple courses. That also helped a lot with
cool.
just structures
Yeah,
and pronunciation. And then really a lot of it now is just having the conversations every day with my girlfriend or with one of the fellows from work. That's the biggest thing that's got
yeah.
me to the next level is just speaking it as much as I can every day or listening to podcast. Tom Segura has a really
Do
good
you?
Spanish podcast right now where he speaks to um, all Spanish speaking comedians. So it's funny
Damn,
because they're all comedians and you pick up on the language as well. So it's fantastic from both aspects.
that's cool. I had one of my buddies growing up. He a joke. I don't know. He would always say this. He's like, I just want to learn other language so I can like understand like their humor. And I
Yeah,
always thought that was like really like
yeah,
endearing and
yeah.
cute. And I imagine that's like really fun to kind of like experience that. I
It's
don't know.
also
That's really
great
cool.
just chirping my friends with Valentina. So if they fuck up in
Yeah.
some way, we get a chirping, and they're like, "What'd you guys just say?" So you'll never know, man. You got to learn the
That
language.
okay. I okay. So my girlfriend, my partner, like she is a white person, like doesn't look like she would speak Spanish. Is
Yeah,
how I is the best way to put it, right? And I I often ask her, I'm like, how do you like I want to know like when do you show your cards? Like when do you
yeah, yeah.
when are you know? And I'm sure it's all situational, but like there was this time she works she's on the board of my girlfriend's on the board of a nonprofit and it's a group of refugees that operate a goat farm here in Salt Lake, and part of some of the stuff that my girlfriend does for this nonprofit is like she'll go pick up grain from a local brewery to take to the goats, right?
Hmm.
And so she's there, and she told me like that last week that she like just like they said something in Spanish, and she like I think I remember this, but she said something in Spanish, and she had to respond, and so she responded in Spanish,
Yeah,
and then she was like after that she was like it was she was cool. She was kind of describing like how it sort of shifts, you know, a
yeah.
bit like, and I think you can like, and I think what a cool I don't know. I'm so envious. I just like wish
It's
I yeah I don't know.
that scenario happened to me actually in Ingersoll. So a barber shop moved into town, and they have also a shop in Woodstock. I'm in Ingersoll, so they're about 20 minute
Okay,
separation. They opened up another shop here, and they're Colombians. And the woman that was
okay,
cutting my hair when I went in, she didn't know English very well at all, so she wasn't
okay,
speaking to me at all. And when I
sure,
did say something, the fella in the back would kind of have to repeat me.
right,
And I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, she's not very good at English. Let me pull out my Spanish here. And as soon as I pull out the Spanish, her eyes light up and she just starts talking to me, right? I'm like, okay, this is that barrier. We just crossed that barrier, right?
Yes, dude. That's so yeah, what a, I mean, honestly, I think it's a really beautiful thing. Like to be able to talk to someone in their native tongue. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that's like to I talk so fucking much that I can't imagine being able not to, you know, not to
Yeah.
communicate with people
Yeah.
and what like how just how encourage like what encourage like how encouraging that is to have someone speak it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
No, I agree
anyways,
100%.
props to you, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you,
Like
sir.
I
Appreciate it.
love that you use it too, you know? Like
Yeah.
I think that's I my sister served a mission for the Mormon church. I was raised Mormon and she served a mission in Uruguay and she came back fluent and you know, I think she can still speak it, but she doesn't use it, you know? And I think it's a damn shame, you know?
Mormons, that's a big cultural influence in Utah, is it not? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, I mean it's
It's
yeah, I mean they Brigham Young took over the Mormon Church after Joseph Smith was killed, and they are the pioneers.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of pioneer history and culture, for better for worse out here,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's everywhere. It's one of my biggest struggles with living in Salt Lake. I'm no longer LDS. I think it. I think the LDS or the Mormon Church. Yeah, I think it causes a lot of harm and
Mm.
blah blah blah. We
Yeah.
don't have to get into that, but
Yeah.
so it's tough to live. It's tough to live here, for aspects like that are related to that. All of my family is all still, not all of them, but most of my family is all active
Mhm.
LDS. And yeah, it's difficult to live. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. So the Mormons definitely run Salt Lake. There's like not even. It's not even like disguised really.
Yeah.
Like they they run this shit. That's for sure.
Yeah. No
So
doubt, eh? Huh.
yeah.
Learn something.
Anyways,
Yeah. It's interesting to me. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so where did you say if you could live anywhere, where would it be again? You said California,
I said Monterey,
Monterey,
California. Yeah,
California.
and that's like kind of like the retirement thing. I really do love Utah and love Salt Lake, and I feel really lucky to live here as well. Like, I'm lucky that my parents, when my dad retired from the military, they grew up here, so
Yep.
um, it was sort of like a move back home thing.
Yep.
And so when they did that, I moved here like senior or not senior year. I moved here like uh, sophomore year of high school. So it was kind of tough, like, but I've really grown to love it, and like just skiing and being outdoors. I don't know, Utah's really great for all of that.
What is your number one tip to new crafters?
Um, oh man, I don't know. I I don't know. I think like so I may do like I took Tandy tools and tried to make them look like they weren't like I made something without Tandy tools. Um, I used this something very. I used this for a long time,
Hmm.
um, and once I realized that the holes I was punching were too big to get the stitching that I wanted, I would use it as a pricking iron. So I would mark for my spacing, right? So I'd mark with that, and then I would come in and I would take a Verger, awl that I had like honed and kind of flattened out, and I would take a piece of cork and I would sit there and poke with to get that French style,
Okay. Yeah.
before before I even had pricking irons. And so I don't know. I think something along the lines of that, like it. I don't know
Just
what's
start.
the saying? Well, yeah, like what's the saying? It's like it's not the tool's fault or something like along like
It's not the tool
I don't
you
even know how
use;
to.
it's the like crafter behind it.
Sure, like,
It is, we
and I
can make
do
that
think
one.
that's so in everything I've ever done, like whether it's be like tuning skis, um, doing leather work, learning how to play guitar, any type of art form. It's just like, yeah, it's like the whole thing with photography. Like some people, I used to, it's like, I think I even fell into that too. It's like, I got a really nice camera. So now my photos are going to be really, really
Yeah.
nice. And it's like, yeah, sure. Like, you can't really make something. I don't know. You could take one of those Tandy Brazilian hides and probably make something nice out of it, but um, I don't know. So yeah, I would say just don't get so caught up in materials and tools, and like just like get to know your bench. I don't know how to say that. It's just kind of a
I talked to
I
some.
don't know. Or
I was just gonna say I talked to some crafters, and their advice from that standpoint is don't buy cheap tools to start. Just buy the best. And it makes me think because I offer starter tools and like a big kit. something similar to Tandy. And my thought process is I started with Tandy's tools as well. There was a perfect way to start. I still use some of them to this day.
I use many,
Yeah,
many of mine. Yeah.
yeah. And when I hear that, I'm like, well, should I stop offering this starter toolbox, which isn't the greatest tools, but I also want people to get started. I want people to get going, and if I can offer them a toolkit that's inexpensive to get them going, to get their foot in the door, then I feel like that's the better option than not offering it. So I'm always playing with, should I just take that off of my product line and start offering only good tools, or should I leave it on and run under that assumption that it's better to get going with something, because man, leather craft is expensive and you don't want to dive in buying all this expensive shit if you don't know if you're going to like it or not yet.
Yeah. I, uh, I really admire that you're like having those conversations with yourself, like,
Mhm.
and wondering like, and I see, and I feel like that's sort of like your business philosophy, right? Like whatever it is that you are trying to do with your business, like your products should follow that story, you
Yeah.
know? And so if you're trying to lower that barrier to entry, then, offer those tools.
Yeah.
People are going to buy them somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, like I, I don't know, working for a supplier that has a spread,
Hmm.
um, it really kind of it can get confusing. And I think that's also like I brought up earlier, like there's a really the trend now for videos seems to be on Instagram or YouTube. It's like advice. And um, whether it be crafters are understanding that like making 1,000 wallets a month is like really tiring. They're trying to figure out a way to make some passive income, and I like totally support that. And
Yeah.
I think that's so and in sharing all that advice, I think that comes with its inherent problems of like weeding out kind of what's good and what isn't good. If you're new to it, you're not gonna know.
Yeah.
I know that when so and so posts a video, it's fucking bullshit,
Yeah.
and I laugh at it and I move on. Um, but they don't know that,
Yeah.
Um,
And it also
so I
probably
don't
helps
know.
someone else too,
Yeah, exactly. Like
right?
it's yes. I mean, I uh, someone I remember learning something on my sewing machine from my sewing teacher, and I was just like, oh, the whole class is worth it for that one stupid tip.
Yeah.
Like,
You
and,
never
and
know
that's
who
what it
it's
taught
going
me
to
to do.
help.
Totally. So you're better off sharing and whatever. But with the tool thing, I with when people know that I work for RMLS, like I get a lot of questions. Like people ask, I don't know, not it's not like my DMs are crazy, but like I get questions about tools that we carry and things to do and stuff like that. And buy a fucking mallet, buy like I don't know, like I think you could probably get away and like if you make things pure, like if you have tools in the garage, if you uh like making things, you probably aren't just hitting leathercraft first, I
Hmm.
think there's probably some other thing that you've done before that's similar, or I don't know. So there's a lot of crossover tools. Like I think those tools are great. Like I don't think that they have to be leather crafting tools. There's a lot of things that I use on my bench that are like not necessarily catered to leather workers. But I don't know. I don't. I don't know. With leatherwork, the idea, or at least my philosophy is like, I'm trying to combat Amazon in some way,
Hmm.
or that idea of Amazon, right? And I just saw some fucking Amazon handmade advertisement. I took a screenshot and posted it because I thought it was hilarious. But it was like Amazon handmade. And I went to like the listing and I was like, all right, let's take a look. You know, $15 wallet with a snap set in it. It was like a fold over, like smart design for a quick and dirty thing. And like it was hand sewn. Um, but it was, you could tell it was hand sewn because the machine would have looked better. But like, it's Amazon's there. It's already, they're like, ah, what are you gonna do? Anyways,
So,
so
what would your so are you
well, so my thing was more of like, I I often sometimes chuckle when I see, well, and I'm gonna say a couple things and then I'm gonna go back. I
okay?
chuckle when I see people buying Amazon starter kit leather worker kits. Uh, like the the raging asshole inside of me is just like, ha 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 ha, that's so fucking ironic. Like, it's, you're buying junk to make a finely crafted thing. Like, how the fuck does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then I have to tell myself, all right, bro, you've been doing this for long enough where you have tools you don't even know where they came from. So go back a few steps and realize that Tandy shit you were buying
It's the
that
same thing
wasn't
as Amazon.
Amazon,
Yeah.
still fucking distributed. Like, but okay, fine.
Here's my question. Do you think that Amazon, Tandy, or any other starter kit is different? Because they're all coming from exactly the same manufacturer.
Nah, man, I don't think so. I
No?
think I think for the most part, I think it's all kind of the same stuff. I mean, if you look at, like, when you start to look
Sorry,
around at,
you think they are the same? They're all the same stuff. Tandy, Amazon, you think they are the same or they're different? Sorry.
so I okay, so you have to think about, like, think about this, I guess. A leathercraft tool is fairly easy to make. It doesn't take like a large manufacturing plant to like whip out like, um, an all handle and an all blade, right? Does it matter in the grand scheme of things where it's made? Of course, but like, this is a knockoff. I don't even call it a knockoff, but this is an all that came from a Chinese manufacturer, and it sure looks a lot like the ones that come from Chemovan Craft, and it looks a lot like the ones that come from other places, and a lot like Crimson High, and all like blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. I've been privy to a lot of things from the, like, from where I've worked, and um, when so I've started to, I saw from like a from an insider's perspective, um, where things are coming from, and I don't think that buying craft tool um, over what's the Kyo Chanel, or Oka, like, it's all the same, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, truly, I do think it is all the same.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see there. While I'm saying like making a leathercraft tool is probably, a little, like, on a mass production scale, probably like fairly simple if you have the designs and you have the machinery. So, but my other point is, like, I don't really see there being like hundreds of leathercraft tool manufacturers over in China. I think that there's probably a good bet that a lot of that stuff is coming from the same place. I also come from the bike industry too. I worked in bike shops, and um, a lot of bikes are made in Taiwan at the same goddamn factory as
Yeah.
all of the other brands, and China and Taiwan, they can make good stuff. That whole like China is crap thing is not, that's stupid. That needs to go out the door. Like,
Yeah.
China will do it however you tell them to do it. Like,
Yep.
if you want quality, you can find it. I mean, so anyways, I don't know. I think that if you're going to invest money into anything when you're starting leathercraft, like for the tools, like, you need a nice mallet, you need a really good beveler. I use Palo Santo bevelers. I'll probably only stick with those. I'm sure that the Jun Lin ones are super nice.
Yeah. I've seen those
Um,
ones.
I'm sure that they're great. I don't know. Bill distributes Palo Santo stateside, so that's great. I mean, I use a 00 and whatever. So, so I think when it comes to that, like, you absolutely need some nice tools.
Hmm.
All the other shit is whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you need a good skiving knife, obviously. Like, but I don't know, man. I struggle with that. Like, I kind of fall into that Venn diagram of, like, right in the middle, where it's like the tools do matter, but like, you can't blame the tool at the same time. So
Yeah. There's
I don't
only
know,
so
man.
many ways to skin a horse, right?
Yeah, and so,
Is that the saying?
I think if you're buying a beginning leathercraft toolkit, like I would hope that the stuff that's in that toolkit like has potential to cross over into another craft if you didn't like leatherwork. Um,
Yeah,
your straight edge ruler, fine. Your X-Acto, fine. Your cutting mat, fine. You can use those in all other tons of different applications.
exactly.
So I don't know. I think if you want to get into it and you're motivated and the way that you get into it is by spending a little bit of money, then yeah, I don't think it matters. I personally would probably recommend someone buy a beginning toolkit from a leather supplier where there is support.
Yes, that makes
That's all.
sense.
That's all. Just the fact that they could DM you
Yeah,
is way better than, buying something on Amazon with a bunch of reviews
that
from a
makes
bunch of other beginners. Like, you know,
that makes a lot of
but yeah,
sense.
it's hard to
What's
say
your
that,
number one tip? No, I hear what you say. I hear what you're saying. This is difficult, kind of. It's difficult because when you come at it from experienced hands, you said you've been doing crafting since you were 10. You said
Well, no, past 10 years,
okay,
been making things like on my own. I got a tool, like I got that Tandy kit. Like I made a wallet when I was like 11 or something like
okay,
that.
but you've
Carried,
had your hands in the craft for enough years to have these experienced thoughts about it, so I can understand
yeah,
where it's kind of goes back to that saying again. There's only so many ways. I don't know if this is correct me saying this, but to skin a
to
horse,
skin a cat,
skin a cat, is that what it
skin
is?
a horse.
Because
Yeah,
I can
skin a
imagine it's
cat.
pretty
Yeah.
hard to skin a horse for some reason. I don't
It
know.
would be yeah, the cat. I mean, yeah, yeah,
I'm glad we
yeah,
corrected this.
yeah. No, like I don't know, man. Like I bought one of these like inexpensive skiving knives from this is from District Leather, um, $80. And to me, I don't think that that's expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For what this is, I've had it forever and I
Yep.
use it often. Like I don't know. So
And you probably maintain the shit
like
out of
okay,
it too.
yeah, I mean honestly, I've only had to set it once. It's reset the edge once and then just drop. Like it's great. And then
Yeah.
I have, but then I have, I also have a charter made skiving knife. Comes with its pretty little price tag, and to be honest, I didn't. That was a gift,
Yeah.
so I didn't buy that.
Yeah.
But because I do think that's funny. I've had situations in the ski industry where I'm talking to a customer, and I'm like, oh, you need this and this and this and this and this, you know. But I'm me talking to someone who's new at it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, of course you are, asshole. Like you get deals on this stuff. Of course you'd recommend I buy this boot. I get 60% off of it. You get whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think there's like a grain of salt should always be taken. Like I think, um, I don't know if it, imagine this. Imagine you're trying to talk someone into buying a wallet or a bag or something that you made, and um, you're explaining to this person, yeah, this wallet does cost this amount of money. That might make them feel a certain way, right? Um, and you say, okay, well, if they're not feeling the price, then you're gonna go, okay, well, look, you know, uh, a Chinese made plant in some manufacturing plant is not using as sustainable leathers as I am, or is not using as quality of materials as I am, and
Sure.
all that stuff's great. But then what really I think is going to be the main factor that you're going to try to say, hopefully, is that you're going to come up with the cost per use, you know, uh, thing. So when I think about like cost per use in an $80 knife, that's a no brainer. When I think about cost per use of my pricking irons that I bought from Rocky Mountain, even before I worked there, like I've, I've gotten my money's worth out of that thing. Like,
Yeah.
so so when you have that mentality where you're crafting something that's supposed to be this handmade beautiful object, and that the idea is, and then you're trying to sell it, that you're going to be using the same type of methods to sell that as you would as a nice tool manufacturer trying to sell you the tools to do the job correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I think like I think we would all probably love to buy all tools that are handmade, and we would all probably all love to buy things that aren't made from China, and we would probably all, I don't know. So I don't know. I guess my rambling brings me to like if it encourages you and inspires you to do the craft, buy it.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
if it's that knife, fine, dude. Like see how far that gets you. If
Yep.
you're a dumbass and you bought a bunch of shiny tools that you're not going to use because you're that type of person, you probably did it before for the other thing that you did
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
didn't follow through with.
Yep.
But like, you know, so I don't know. I think that's fine. Buy some cheap tools at the beginning, and once you're serious, like give those tools to a friend
Yeah.
or keep them. I can't tell you how many times like I've given my Tandy tools away to somebody when I'm like, I'm never going to use this 5 millimeter stitching spacing pricking iron, and they're like, dude, I can't. I'm like, please take it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
go home and make something shitty, and then show me what it looks like. I don't know, you
Yeah.
know.
No, that's cool.
So
That makes
yeah,
sense.
I
Um,
don't know.
so last question on the speed round here is how do you sustain the craft?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I made decisions in my life that put me in like in situations where I would just be exposed to it. And exposure to me was what like kept it alive for me.
Okay.
I this is my medium that I've fallen into and will um I it brings me joy to just make things, and so I'll probably always do it. Whether it's like for money or not, like I'll always do it, you know. So I found ways to surround like with working for a supplier. I mean, that was like I made a conscious decision to say, nope, okay, you're going to pursue that and you're going to see what that does. And like getting paid $15 an hour to package some stuff a few years ago was like, I mean, it was huge, hugely impactful to like for me learning. And I think like if you're serious about something of like immersion is the best thing you could do. Like you talked about like with you speaking Spanish, like it was around you. You were given the opportunity to get better at it. And I look at it like that. Like if I had Rocky Mountain Leather Supply down the street from me and I was like obsessed with leathercraft, I don't know who else other fucking door I'd go knock on if it wasn't that. Like that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like if it, you know what I mean? Like if there's if if I don't know, man. Like if your neighbor was into something, like you, like we have like my roommates and I have like 10 bikes between us all, like bicycles, and like I'm sure the neighbors are just like, you know, if they had a question about a bike, they'd probably like come up to us. You know what I mean? Like I think if you're given those opportunities and you're given that stuff, like to me, I just saw no other place that I would end up is that like working for a supplier because I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I realized that like with skiing, I went and worked at ski shops. I got better at skiing. I learned more about skiing. I got myself surrounded by people who skied, and with working for a leathercraft supplier, it introduced me to like one of my best friends, Robin, who has taught me so much about the craft.
Yep.
She's amazing. I've met so many people. I'm on this podcast with you, like so. I don't know, man. I think you know I I kind of wish that like I didn't have orders sometimes, so I could just make whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
But you know, but that's the sustainable part. Like you've got to be able to find that balance of like, you know, if my goal is with Leathercrafts is for it to pay my bills, if you know, I had that mentality and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go seek out some stores locally and get myself selling and get consistent income rather than like this. Well, sure, hope someone buys a wallet today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, because you got to get
Put
out of that.
yourself in it.
Yeah, and so that's other things that I've done is like, you know, I another thing I do to help like sustain the craft with photography is I sign up to shoot free shows for a local venue that I have contacts with. I don't get paid for that, but it's I sign up for it and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take a photo because I don't know if I would take a photo tonight if it wasn't for going to this show, right? And then I see the image and I'm like, oh, that's so inspiring, like that's so cool, and you know, like it's one of those things like I feel like sometimes the hardest part with crafting is just like picking up the knife and making the first cut and like
Mhm.
just starting the process. It's like reading a
Yeah,
book. You just have to start. Like,
yeah.
so
I like
I don't
what
know
you
if you
said there.
find ways.
I was just gonna say I like what you said there about like if it wasn't for you signing up for that event to go have to go take photos, then you wouldn't be taking photos. And I think about that for a lot of ideas that I'll have to like ways like for example this template. I wanted to do it, so
Yeah.
I did it. And then for me to continue to have to keep making this thing so that way I can put it on the site is to literally, really simple, put it out to everyone who's on the stories, who watches my stories, say, hey, I'm making this thing. And now I've committed to it. Now I have to refine this and make this thing
Yes.
work. I
Yes.
put myself in the
Yes.
shit, and now I can't not do it, right?
Totally. And there's something really like, I don't know. I think it's kind of like it's a humble thing. I think too,
Hmm.
to where you're saying, I'm willing to make a mistake here. I'm willing to put this out there. The ego drops away. I think
Yeah.
truly, like where you're willing to be like, I'm going to put this out there, and like it's probably not great, but
Yeah.
I'm willing because I'm humble to
Yeah.
get the feedback that I need. Because if you're not humble, you can't accept that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That's yeah, exactly. You have to kind of make those like, oh, I don't even know what I call it. Like sometimes like little tricks. Like
Hmm.
you've got to, because there's like, I don't know what it is, man. Like as soon as it starts to feel like a job
Hmm.
or like a chore is better. Job, when it feels like a chore, yeah. But yeah, I mean that's a great. I love that. Like you kind of you get the cat. It's a catalyst,
Yeah.
and then after that, you're just like this is going to turn into its own thing. So
Do you ever find so I'll do that and I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I'll be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And sometimes it takes me for fucking ever to actually like finish it off. Like I don't know how long it's
mhm.
going to take me this whatever. But like say anything else where I'm like, hey, I'm going to do that. I'm going to work on the deck or I'm going to do this or whatever. Sometimes it takes me forever, but it really is again it goes back to that slowing down and trying to enjoy it where it's gonna get done. It just might take
Mhm.
longer than what I expected or what anyone else expected. Um, but the important thing is starting. It's really hard to start. It's really easy to fuck off in the middle of it, and it's really hard to finish again, right? So you go from hard,
Yeah.
easy to hard. You got to finish what you started, and I don't care how long
What's
it takes,
yeah
as long as you finish.
I love that because I feel like I really respect that mindset because I think we get caught up sometimes in like productivity
Hmm.
and what does that even really mean, right? But I think if you own your own business and it's up to you to make the shit and sell it,
Hmm.
then there's a lot of pressure that comes on. Like, I will feel like an immense amount of guilt if I fuck off,
Yeah,
and go maybe hiking all day
yeah,
or ride, but like you have to also remember and like before you had the thought of doing it, it was just a thought. Like before you started, it was just a thought.
yeah.
So it's sort of like one of those things. Like I don't think I don't know. Hopefully, like if you're like what are they like if you're on your deathbed or whatever, and you're like sitting there trying to like think about your life or whatever. I don't think I'm gonna be like I said. I just delivered this order. Like I projected, whatever. I delivered 30 days late in my mind, right? The store owner was like, "Dude, cool, great job. Like, I'm glad you got it done. Like, we just wanted it before the holidays." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." Like,
Yeah,
but it's the idea of like, you know what? Oh well, because who the fuck cares? Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to be like, "Oh boy, I sure wish I would have got that wallet done sooner."
yeah,
Like, I mean, because I don't know. I also play music, and it's one of those things. It's like nobody gives a shit like how long the album took you to make if the album is a classic. Like it, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I don't know. So I think it's just the act of like starting and just doing it. Like even if it does take you a year, just do it.
yeah.
Like
Yep.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're the only pressure that we're feeling for that productivity stuff is like narratives that we're either telling ourselves or like mindsets that we're like adopting that aren't true. Like
Yep.
you don't need to be, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
No,
I
I
could go
agree.
on.
No, I
Yeah.
100%. I hear you on that. I hear you 100%. All right, man. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes into it, 34 minutes into it. Any last words before we
Uh,
head off?
it's good shit. Thanks for having me. It's been really fun to chat.
Yep.
It's been cool. I've done a couple of these things with different people, and yeah, I don't know. This has been fun. It's
Yeah.
been
I've had a.
it's been cool. You're asking good questions too.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I appreciate having this conversation with you, and we'll definitely chat soon. I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop, and then we'll just stay on for a
Cool.
little bit and make sure everything loads well.
Sweet.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All
Cool,
right.
man.
Talk
Yeah.
soon.
That was rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this leather-filled journey today. We hope you found inspiration and creativity in every word shared on this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, like, rate this video, comment below. Your feedback fuels our passion to bring you more captivating stories from the world of leather crafting and artistry. And for even more leather magic and to stay up to date on our latest episodes, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Wilfreds Leather Co. Visit our website, wilfredsleatherco.ca. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And of course, you'll find in the show notes additional resources on ways to connect and links to what we spoke about in today's podcast. Remember, your creative journey with leather is boundless. So keep those ideas flowing, those tools clicking, and those stitches tight. Together, we're crafting a world where artistry knows no bounds. Until next time, fellow artisans, keep innovating, keep creating, and keep embracing the art of leather. This is Ethan Williams signing off the Creators Flow podcast. Stay creative, stay passionate, and most importantly, stay leathery. Goodbye for now. We can't wait to have you back on our leather-filled adventure.